Today's episode is brought to you in part by Cold-Blooded Caffeine, a small batch coffee company built around reptiles, conservation, and really good coffee. Founded by Trey Hall and McKendrick Dunn, Cold-Blooded Caffeine connects roasted to order coffee with real-life conservation in coffee-producing countries. 5% of every bag sold goes directly to conservation efforts, and I'm excited to announce that the Expert and the Idiot podcast now has its own custom coffee blend. Every penny from my profits from that blend will be donated to indigo conservation through the Orion Society. If you want great coffee that actually supports the animals and ecosystems we all care about, check out coldbloodedcaffeine.com. This episode is brought to you in part by Exoterra. If you're as passionate about reptiles and amphibians as I am, you know that quality matters. I use Exoterra products on all my reptile and amphibian enclosures, which is why I'm excited to be partnering with them. From naturalistic decor to innovative lighting and enclosures of all sizes, Exoterra has everything you need for your cold-blooded companions. Exoterra, make your reptiles feel at home. This episode is brought to you in part by Unlimited Exotic Pets. Every day is Veranda Day for Nick Lillis, and it shows. At Unlimited Exotic Pets, Nick produces high-quality monitor lizards with a deep commitment to ethical care practices and top-tier nutrition. These aren't just pets. They're responsibly bred, ethically raised animals. Whether you're looking for a new companion, starting a breeding project, or anything in between, Nick has you covered. Unlimited Exotic Pets, keeping and breeding quality without limitations. This is the Expert and the Idiot podcast. If you like the show and you'd like to support us, there's a link to our Patreon in the description below. Some benefits include getting access to new episodes up to a month in advance. There's also links to USARK and USARK Florida. If you're not already a member, please sign up. Enjoy the show. So it's been 110 episodes since you were on last, which is pretty wild. That's a lot of hours of podcasts since you were on last.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. But I'm glad to have you back, man. I think what something you told me that stuck with me when we were talking privately after recording the last time. I think we talked like pretty late that night.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah, for quite a while. It was like a 6-hour ordeal altogether. But I think you told me I was like running names by you, and I'm like, do you think I should get this guy on? You were like, get on everybody you can. You like anybody that's reptile related, get them on.
Yeah.
And I took that to heart. I ran with that. So here we are. Yeah. 110 episodes later.
Yeah, there's always a wish list and important people to probably get on. But I mean, as long as they have something going on, there's probably something interesting you could take from them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about obviously we're going to talk about short-tail pythons, and I want to talk about your roughies too, because man, those are really cool. And that's something that I keep thinking, like, I really need to get a pair of those at some point. They're just so neat and so different, and the kind of gray blue eyes are really striking. But I really want to talk to you about you have Surinames and Amarilli, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any other boas, or is that it?
I do. I have a pair of Guyanas that are pretty nice. I just never really show them off or take pictures of them. Have
you reproduced those yet?
Not the Guyanas. The Surinames, yes. The Amarilli a few times. They're not of size yet, but I've never tried Guyanas yet. So, but I'm pretty straightforward. I think it'd be the same as Surinames. Not that any of them are easy. Boas are still, I've done them a few times. They're just different because they're not egg layers. It's just a lot more waiting. I feel like with all the python species I did, when they start to ovulate, it's a little more obvious. The boas are a little bit more under the radar. I feel like they build longer, I guess you could say. And I could be totally wrong. Just in my eyes, I'm just I guess I'm just more comfortable and used to pythons.
Hmm. And what makes it harder? Is it the fact that you have to go, or is there like a layer of stress that you're responsible for keeping that animal in perfect conditions so they have a healthy litter the whole way through?
I mean, I don't know if I look at it that way. It is just difficult. Like I offer food. I think the Suriname ate. I'm pretty sure the Amarillo ate, but I offer smaller meals. You give them water. You got to make sure they got the correct heat on. But yeah, I mean, it's just stressful because I mean they're the incubator right there inside. I mean, I know a python obviously is the incubator when they maternally do it, but yeah, it's just like I said, I like personally getting the eggs, knowing the number I got, being able to check on them, and just as much wrong can go with the eggs, also, or you might not get any good eggs. But with the boa, it's just a little bit more foreign to me, and my hat's off to boa breeders. It just seems like a long process. And maybe, like I said, it's because you get your eggs, you start the countdown and you're watching your eggs and everything
Hmm.
else. The boas just seem like they take forever to me. And I'm just not good at the times yet. Like I said, like my pythons are on a schedule where generally around this time I start seeing ovulations. I start getting eggs, late March, April, May. Then they start hatching in the summertime. Boas have been like just kind of all over the place, and they're the latest ones. They're always kind of going into September, sometimes October, when they're
Hmm.
starting to like drop for the few times I've had that.
And do you food cycle them or temperature cycle? Like how do you cycle your boas?
I food cycle them just like I do the pythons. I start hitting them a little heavier in the last couple months, getting them, making sure they're ready all year long, but just doing that. And then heat, I probably turn the heat up a little bit once I start pairing them up a few times. I just boost their heat a little bit. It's weird because I got it backwards. I've got them in, they're still a lot smaller. So, everyone thinks true red tail boa is gigantic. I think my female's like 6 and she's all of 5 feet long. I mean, she has a good girth, but
What?
she's small. Like I don't have to, give her gigantic meals, and she had a great litter and she looks even better this year. I didn't breed her. Um, but I have them lower, and I have on a big ARS rack, and I got the probes up higher because they're in with short tails, but I don't got any of the short tails in the lower ones because they don't like the heat as much as they do.
Hmm.
So I got to reverse it. I got to put them up higher so they catch more of the heat altogether. It's kind of just like me being lazy, I guess.
Walk me through like ideal temps for them. Like what do you have them like? What's their hot spot for the boas?
I believe I got the hot spot right now at like 92, 93, which maybe I even need to go higher, but that's worked for me. So for the true red tails, the boa constrictors, the Surinams, but the Amarilli, it's a short tail boa. They are a little bit more like short tail pythons where they don't seem to like it as hot. But there was
Hmm.
a year I tried to it was a while ago when I bred them, and the girl, she went through ovulation, and I just kept their temperatures just like I would the short tails pythons, and she didn't have a good litter. I don't know if that was the cause of it, but I think I needed to boost that up kind of probably more towards the high 80s, probably like 87, 88. I think I had it at like 83, 84.
Okay. And did she slug out
Yeah, she
or
just had a bunch of duds. Like it was just
uh
not stillborns or nothing, just a bunch of duds. And then the next year I did raise it up, and she had another just bad litter. And then a couple years later she had a good one. So it's and the years previous she had 2 good litters. So I don't know what it is. She was getting up there in age. She was a 2008, and this was like 2023. So I mean, she was up there in age.
This episode is brought to you by Chewy. Most people think of Chewy for dog and cat food, but if you keep reptiles, you should absolutely be using them too. Chewy carries everything from all the brands you trust, like Exoterra, Arcadia, Zoomed, and everything in between. Live feeders to frozen rodents, enclosures, substrate, heat lamps, thermostats, water bowls, misters, and more, all in one place, shipped straight to your door. Sign up for Chewy Plus today, free for 30 days. You get free shipping, 5% rewards, and exclusive offers. I use Chewy, and you should too. Have you always been into boas, or is that sort of something that came later?
No, since so when I started building my collection in 2003, I had like a pet. Like right away, I always liked boas as a kid, and I grabbed a pet, just a BCI normal, just to like raise up. I got her, or it was I don't know if it was a her or him. To be honest with you, it was just like a pet. Got her as big as I could. That was the garbage disposal. Whatever they need, got that. I mean, I fed that thing a chicken before, all kinds of stuff, and but I could just scoop it out and take it out. And I had a Nicaraguan before for a little bit of time. I had a Hog Island that was really nice that I regret selling. I had a couple different BCIs, and then I had a couple Surinams back in the day. So I was always kind of dabbling with boas, and then I got the Amarilli from Joel Diaz, the Diaz brothers, who got it straight from Barry Miller, because I wanted to breed them. I was just like eyeing up the Amarilli, and I like the Bolivians, but I like the South Brazilians a little bit more. So,
Mm,
and that was like, when did I get them? I want to say like 2012, 2013, I think. It might be a little bit later, but that's when I got them. And they came in as, pretty much adults because they were a couple years old.
okay.
And they were, like I said, I kind of fell in love with them. But then I said I had a couple killer litters and I had some holdbacks and I just didn't hold enough. And I was getting into other projects. And I always held on to my original pair with one holdback, but I always wound up selling the other one and never holding back more. And now that I'm here, I regret that because there was so many babies that I go back and look at pictures and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Mm. What's the phenotypic difference between those two localities of Amarilli?
Well, when I was getting into them, from what I could see, is the Bolivians were always a lot more silver or dark heavy, where the South Brazilians were always a bit more on the gold side.
Mm,
And the Bolivians are obviously some clean ones, but they'd have a lot more speckling and like dirtiness to them, where these South Brazilians were a little bit cleaner.
mm,
That was the differences that I noticed and that I liked, and that's why I kind of jumped on the pair that I got because they were really clean, really reduced pattern, like almost no red in the tail, just like really little stripes. And I don't know, their like heads got like their head isn't much different than a boa constrictor, but it is. I don't know the shape of it. It's a little bit more like I don't know. It's a little more detailed. It was kind of like crazy. I'm big on like the head color, head structure of snakes. That's what got me more into the Borneos and the red bloods when I kind of fell in love with the short tail species.
mm. Yeah, it's that like that I love boas, but then like you show me Argentine and I just love how different they are.
Yeah,
Like they're just so different, and the Amarilli are really different too. I love that super reduced pattern, and man, they're just beautiful.
yeah. Them and the Like I want to get Bolivians. I've been wanting to get Bolivians, but I'm I really want a lot more like Surinams and Guyanas too. So I don't know where I'm going to put all this because in my mind I should be dialing back or slimming down some. I should not be gaining more. So it's a problem.
It is. It is. Now, what about size for the Amarilli? Like how big are they?
So I've got that. So I still got the 2008 male. The 2008 female died a while ago. She laid a litter. She ate a few times for me. She was looking good, and like 2 months later, she just rolled. And she was empty. Like I checked. I didn't know. I don't know what happened. But the male, I mean, they were about the same size, even though they were male female. He's probably like 6 foot. He could take a large rat pretty easy, but I pretty much feed him mediums. I think their general size, I don't know, because you go off care sheets and all that stuff. And once again, like the maximum size a lot of people say is the one off or whatever. I think they're supposed to be between like 6 and 8 feet long. They're not like as crazy. And
Yeah.
like I said, I could be totally wrong about that because some people will really be into, the Surinams are like, but they get giant, like 12 feet. And I'm like, nah, not really. I don't know anybody. I know there are people that had them, and you see those old school pictures, which look awesome, of a giant, true red tailed boa with a big square, muscular body, and they're huge. But anymore, Mike Kostakos is a good friend of mine. He's got a lot of boas. He's definitely probably got some old boas. I don't think he's got any 12-foot Surinams. I'm sure he's got some pretty big ones or some big red tails, but I don't think he's got any like I I think 8 foot is probably a big one. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure they get pretty big, but I haven't seen any gigantic ones. in a while,
Yeah.
or in person, I should say.
What do you think that is? Do you think is it just like feeding frequency that we're just not feeding them like we used to, so they're just not getting as big?
I think the trend now, it's not like it's just a trend. I think it's a good and a bad thing the way we're feeding now, because I think we're definitely power feeding is definitely looked at as a negative thing, and it's not a good thing to power feed and get them as big as possible, as fast as possible, and jam the biggest meals in them. But I do think being heavily into bloods and short tails, I would say, at least a few times a month, someone will post a blood python or a Borneo or a Sumatran. I rescued this, or I got this from a pet store. How do I put it on a diet? It's so obese and it's a perfect looking snake. I think a lot of people think that I don't know if they just look at other pythons and they're not as versed that bloods and short tails are a heavier bodied snake, and they think they got a big snake. Because, like I said, a lot of people will instantly comment like that snake is perfect. Like the other one you're showing looks a little bit underfed, to be honest with you. So, like I said, it's good we're not power feeding, but it's bad because I also think with other snakes, they could be really small, or everyone's worried about, if they're coiled up. Like, look at a roll right there. Isn't it overweight? So, but when it comes to boas, true red tail boas are already a funny species. You can't really jack them with big meals. They tend to, I guess it's because of the line breeding. I don't know enough about all that stuff, but they definitely tend to regurge if you put too big of a meal in them. And you're almost forced to not power feed them. But there's obviously a point where you can start feeding them up and they're going to take off. But I don't think a lot of people do that anymore. I don't know if it's to keep them smaller so you don't need a gigantic cage, or it's just the nature of it. It's difficult to bring them up, and maybe we're not seeing enough like 15, 20-year-old animals, and that's the case of them being pretty big and pretty hefty.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Geyer's got some monstrous Argentines, and I think that some of them are, a couple decades old. They're up there.
Well, like I'm saying, I don't pay enough attention. I'm not deep enough into the boa world. I don't want boa people cursing me out, saying this dude's full of shit, because I'm saying that I don't know for sure. I'm saying that the people that I do know with, true red tails, Peruvians and stuff like that, I've yet to see like a big 10-foot, 12-foot monster that's like, I've seen some big ones, don't get me wrong, but I just haven't seen any like, and like I said, everybody hears you got red tail boas, and they're the true red tails, boa constrictors. So they think that you've got these 12 to 14-foot giant monsters in your basement, and that's not the case.
Yeah, it's I really like the Tarahumara boas. I think that they're like I think I like that they do stay smaller, naturally.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of drawn to those. I like the idea of maybe a dwarf, because I have 2.2 of the Argentines now, so I know that like that's going to require some large cages
for sure
as time goes on. But yeah, the Amarilli are beautiful, and yeah, I always thought that the Surinams get really big, but there are quite a few people that have animals that are several years old and they're not monsters.
I think the other thing that's like, when you look, I mean, when you start knowing snakes pretty well, you can see if they are, struggling or they're skinny, right? So you put some food in them and you're like, you've been rock solid for a long time. So I don't feel the need to blast you with a whole bunch of food or bigger meals, because they look great. Like they're going to the bathroom as usual. They're moving around. Like I said, even that female, after she laid, she didn't look totally deflated, but she bounced back so fast. And I mean, I didn't have to put that much work in for her to bounce back. And she's definitely a little bit bigger, a little bit more solid looking, but it didn't take that much work to get her back to being, what she looked like before, and even better. So
yeah, the feeding thing is weird, because I think somebody came at me about my blood python being obese.
I saw that. I think I jumped.
I think you commented. I think you and Kara both
commented on that one for you.
Yeah, I think you and Kara both came at that person. I shouldn't say came out, educated that person. And instantly, me having these young bloods, I'm like, shit, am I way overfeeding these animals? I mean, I'm giving them medium large rat every other week or so, and they're not even 2 yet, and I mean, dang, dude, they put them down, and then like when they go to the bathroom, it's like they look deflated. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
It's like they gave birth,
they
and
they
like
definitely
there's
can do
nothing
that.
left.
Yeah, they
It's
definitely. You should see one once they lay a big clutch. They are. I'm not kidding. They're flat. Like so you always want
wow.
to like palpate to make sure there's nothing in there, nothing, obstructions, anything weird feeling. And when you let them go back in, I mean, they are like, a big one is paper flat. It's crazy. And they look, out of everything I've ever bred so far, they are the most deflated, tired, beat up looking snake after laying a clutch.
Could you imagine doing like maternal incubation with them? Like that
That's
would.
been my drawback. I mean, once in a while there are some that don't, they bounce back faster and they're not as bad, but for the most part they are like the most, like I said, deflated, most crazy looking difference of a snake once they lay. But I mean, obviously, I feel safer incubating them. I've only maternal incubated a ball python before to do it. But being so in the blood and short tails, I have to do it once. And I'm just waiting for like the right moment of the perfect snake to be wrapped up. They don't look so beat up. And I've probably had that opportunity a few times, but I'm like, I got to incubate this clutch. So I'm making
Yeah.
excuses. But one of these days, one of these years, I'll do it. Probably not this year, but maybe next year.
What do you have? Like, is there anything that you are excited about this year that you're getting into?
Like getting into like something new.
Well, like a project or something that you're pairing up that you're excited about.
Always excited about all the short tail projects I got. I got took a picture and put it on Instagram the other day. I got like a really, really light oslet ghost going to like a super stripe that's been very dark and has these like pink highlights around the neck. Likely it's not going to yield anything too crazy, even though they look drastically different, but it could because they always come out so crazy. But I'm looking forward to seeing. She just kind of ovulated the other day, so I pulled the male. It's funny, after I took that picture, she was, her coils were on the side. She had that like box belly. So I'm like, all right, I think that's done. Um,
Nice.
I've got, I'm hoping this one extreme marble to extreme marble happen, or it's not extreme, it's an extreme marble male to this really light, awesome regular marble female I got. And I got a clutch from her a couple of years ago that came out awesome. So I'm hoping that takes, I put a pair of Martyr VPI stripes together, both that I produced. And they're kind of like, they're not hypo, but they're hypo-ish looking, like they're that red pink, like a Martyr, and they're really cool striped. I'm hoping that takes off.
Mm.
There's a couple other things for bloods and short tails, but then I got the rough scales together. They were like, they felt late this year. Like I kept putting male in and they kept on wanting to eat and they weren't touching each other. Now they won't leave each other, or at least the male won't
Mm.
stop following the female. And they were definitely like connected the other day. I took a picture of that too. It went from like, maybe this isn't going to happen this year, because both other times I bred them, they went right at it. I got a clutch and it was like almost too easy. So I'm like, of course, this will be the year that I really want some more rough scales and I'm going to get my ass kicked. And I might have just been a little too early to the draw because like I said, the male has been right on her. So everywhere she goes, if she goes under her hide box or under there together, if she goes on her branch, they're up there together. So they've been all over the place.
Has this year been pretty good for locks with all the storms that have been rolling through?
Yeah, even before that, we were getting rain and it's been really cold. So yeah, it's been good for lots. Oh, and Amarilli, I'm doing Amarilli too. And she's looking pretty promising. They're still together. And that's what I mean about them. Like, so I haven't fed her in a while, but she looks bigger, but she doesn't look like she's ovulating. She doesn't have a feeling of an ovulation or the look of an ovulation. And like I said, I talked to my buddy Mike Estacos because it's kind of a group project. It is a group project between me and him. He's much better at boas. He does boas way more. So he's like, yeah, keep that going. That's like, she's likely building. And that's what I figured. So hopefully that goes. But yeah, with the storms and the snow, things definitely, but like usually this is when I start pulling males and I'm done. But I just, because of the snow, unless I seen anything ovulate, I'm keeping them going. So,
Mm.
and the other project, before I forget, which man, I've been just getting my ass kicked on it is the Sri Lankan pythons. So they
Oh
have,
yeah.
yeah,
I always forget you have those. And when you bring them up, I'm like, damn, that's a species I really wish I could have.
yeah. So they've went twice for me and just terrible results both times. And once again, they're going again and they look real promising. I'm just hoping. So I definitely boosted the temperatures up. I don't know much more I can change. I've definitely laid into the female a lot heavier with feeding. So I'm hoping that, this fixes it. We'll see.
That's so interesting. It's funny to hear the contrast, or it's interesting rather to hear the contrast between how your confidence with short tails. It's like, like when you were talking about your pairings for short tails, you're like, oh yeah, I looked at her and she's good to go. Like it seems like you're so dialed into them, but you're still learning with the other species.
I think you're always still learning, but I'm just way more comfortable with short tails. Just from, like I said, over 20 years of looking at them and seeing everything they have to offer. It is a lot more, it's a lot easier for me to look in and just see what's going on and kind of know where that's at. But I still learn something new. I get my ass kicked all the time. You just never know. You get to catch a gut punch, sometimes in a good way, but not much of a good way, but most of the time in a bad way. And yeah, like I said, like when people say like, oh, you're a pro or something or an expert. I I guess I'm more of a humble person. Like I would definitely say I know a lot about them, but I think you just always learn. It's hard to ever say like I'm a expert, I'm a pro at this. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Why do you think Borneos are so overlooked in the hobby?
Well, number one, their genetics are all over the place. So it's in a snake world where everything's got to be marketable and an investment, and Borneos can be expensive. Like, but you know what? It sucks now because there's not a lot of us like diehard Borneo people left. There's a few, and then there's people that dabble in it. But when there was, we never did it to be like. I don't think we were ever racing to get to something. Most of us were very well connected. Like, when it comes to mutations or any kind of weird genetics and stuff can be a bit of a higher price, there's a lot more cutthroat and secretive stuff. I felt like we worked really good with each other. Like I remember when like the last bit of like Borneo people were starting to really get out. People were like, oh man, you must be like licking your chops. Like you're like almost the only guy in town, which that wasn't true. They just didn't know some of the other people. I said, no, it's way more fun when there's a lot of us. Like there's
Hmm.
plenty to go around. And I think we all do a better job of promoting it and people get more excited for it. But yeah, the genetics just aren't like, they're not marketable because like I said, when I'm coming out, when I was doing the extremes, that's a line bred project. And I felt like I was already selling them for too high of a price, which I was selling like a top notch extreme for like $3,500. And I was selling really decent ones for like 2,500 to 1,800, and I was selling other things for like 1,000. And I'm like, yeah, it's a Borneo. And it shouldn't have been because there were people like, you should be selling them for way higher because it's a cool
Hmm.
project. But I said, I just have trouble selling them because I don't know what they're going to yield yet. I don't know how they're going to go. And I kind of have a better beat on that now, but it's still kind of no rhyme or reason depending on what it is. Like I can't, when you take one of those to a normal or you take one of those to like a genetic stripe, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. And I think that's what people do. Like nowadays, everybody has to measure out, can I put this down on them? You know what I mean? What am I going to yield back? Where it's more for the people that are just into it. Like they just want to make cool stuff. They just want to have a hobby and they know they're going to be able to move them, but you're just not going to move them right away. You know what I mean? Like I sell Borneo. If I have a clutch of Borneos or every year I have Borneos, I know I'm going to be seeing the ones from this year for the next 3 years that are for sale. Like you don't sell them out in 1 year. And I'm not saying that I make 100. I'm saying that could be 60 Borneos. And I'm
Hmm.
still going to have them for, this year, next year, the year after, and probably a couple stragglers for a couple more years. So
Hmm.
that might be what it is like I said, when it comes to reds, you're thinking, oh, if I get a golden eye and I get a Batrix, I can make pixels and then I can take an albino to here and there's a more of a market value on that. And there's a way around that. Like I said, and it's not a bad thing, but I guess I'm more of a hobbyist when it comes to the snakes I really like. Like I want to be able to move them. I put a lot of work into them. You shouldn't take a loss on anything, but I don't really care if it's. I don't really care if I make a ton of money. And at the same time, like take a genetic stripe and a super stripe Borneo. I still sell genetic stripes between 3 and 450 and super stripes between 450 and 750. And I've been doing that since like 2005. They're at the same price
Wow.
and people buy them.
Yeah.
And they don't feel like they're getting rocked and they don't complain later on. I mean, not like people can come to me and complain about any prices, but you know, you see that in other, mutation markets, like people will get on and vet. I spent $1,000 on this and now the market dropped down to this and that and the other thing. And then they get, that kills a person's passion or kills the species for that person because they just have a bad taste in their mouth from that.
Are they are the Borneos like the smallest of the three species?
No, it's supposed to be Sumatrans, but so the southern Sumatrans, which are the darker ones, and the reds and the Borneos, I mean, they're all pretty similar in size. I mean, it's split in hairs. I mean, reds do get big, like biggest, but I've seen. I mean, you had. I wish we had Kara here. She had, I think, a male Borneo. I think back in like her nerd days, that was like over 6.5 feet or something like that. Like it was a monster. I think it was her biggest snake. And there's definitely some blood pythons I heard that were like 7.5. And to be honest with you, I used to have a blue ghost male that back when I fed stuff really heavy and I had a lot more money. I think he was like 5.5 feet, 27 pounds. So I mean,
jeez.
But now, like I said, compare that to now, no, most of my males are 3.5 feet, 7 pounds. So it just depends it really depends on what you want to put into them and how you want to feed them. And then, like I said, I've seen some really big dark Sumatrans. It's the pumpkinhead Sumatrans, the northerns they are legit smaller than everything else. I don't think I've ever seen one too big of them. Like they get stocky, but I think like they kind of top out. Like a monster would probably be 4 foot.
Dude, I think I saw, who was it? Was it Roy Stewart that put up a picture of a Sumatran that was like, it looked like urban camo. It was like black and super light gray. Who was it that?
I might have missed that one. I don't know.
It was nuts, dude. Like I saw that because I'm not too crazy about like the fully blacked out snake, know, but like when I see them and they have that really high contrast, like really light gray and black patterning. Oh man, it's so cool looking.
Yeah, I tend to like the ones with the more pattern on them myself. It's why it's on my mind. It's probably still on the internet. You could probably still find it if you Google search it. There used to be a picture on Pro Exotics, and this guy was holding a Sumatran short tail. I think it was a dark black, and it was it looks like the biggest thing you ever see. It's so fat and heavy. And it like that thing is like stretched and it looks gigantic. That's a big ass animal.
Yeah, it's have you ever seen the one of the blood python like laying next to the guy on the floor?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I've seen
And
that.
it's like, it looks like it has to be like 6 or 7 feet long. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, there are some monsters out there. There's definitely some big ones out there. But like I said, it just depends on what you put into them. And eventually they are going to get big and all that other stuff. But if you take a blood or a short tail and feed the crap out of it, you can have a 5.5 foot snake, 30 pounds, fairly easy.
Now, talk to me about the genetics of Borneos. Like, do we have a firm grasp on them? And because you said,
No.
because you mentioned a normal, and like what is a normal in your mind, and like is that what we would see in nature? Like, can you unpack some of that for me?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, so there's a lot of blood and short tail endo groups. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that come in and you could just see they're normal, and there's bloods and short tails are just very, very, like everything's very variable. You take a ball python, you see like when you used to take the bush babies and there would be a 10-gallon or a 20-gallon tank at a show and you go through, they're very variable. But when you stare at that as a whole, it's not that variable. They all kind of like look at the same. And then when you start picking them up, yeah, some of them have like alien heads and some of them are blotched and bandit and all that stuff. When it comes to bloods and short tails, they're very different in color end pattern and just everything. So like normal wild Borneos, like the things you see in the wild, you see. That's what makes it so hard to judge sometimes if someone comes on and it's mislabeled. Like, you'll see someone go like, oh, I got this, they'll say a blood python, but you can tell it's not. But most of us are looking at it like it looks more like a Borneo, but it could also be a Sumatran, because there are some Sumatrans that are chocolate. They kind of have a charcoal head. And there's Borneos like that. There's Borneos that have a blue slate to them that are normal. There are Borneos that look really bright. There are Borneos that are really dark walnut brown with real thinned out patterns. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different looking normal wild Borneos over there. And then, like I said, then you just see they're producing stuff over there, or they grabbed a female and she was on eggs and they hatched. And there's definitely some like clear cut genetics over there where there's like almost a reverse stripe that has this like light overglaze, I don't know how to explain the color, but like I almost got my hands on one of them. It's only $400. I went through like an importer and I paid $400 and I was supposed to get it. And it was a known importer and it just never happened. I knew it was a risk, but it was a cheap risk. I mean, $400 is not that bad. But I've seen those so many times over there. So I'm like, that's definitely like a look. And then I've seen other ones that look pretty normal, but then you start seeing them over and over again over there. So obviously there's some genetic markers, but they look normal. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, I think if you put a bunch on the table, I'll go that's what we consider a normal. There's a couple normals on Morph Market right now. I think Outback has some. Those are pretty stock normals. And for the most part, they probably came out of like an ultra breeding or a latte breeding, but you will yield some pretty normal normals. And now with all the albinos floating around, we're definitely seeing some normal looks, but they're probably het or pos het albino. So, yeah.
So their genetics are kind of a crapshoot then.
Well, yeah, and it's all the Borneo people's fault, including my own, because I'm not taking this cool stuff and putting it back to normals and figuring it out. But I mean, it's safe to say that no matter how it is for most of them, does seem polygenic if you read about polygenics. I mean, because the way I'd always describe like an oscillate or a ghost is every year you breed them together and you get a clutch and you think like, oh man, these are the craziest looking ones, or I've never had this look before. And you had 30 other looks, and then the next year you get another look. And it's like the looks never stop, where when you're talking about, something that's a simple recessive or incomplete dominant or dominant, you might get slightly different looks if you're line breeding for it, but it's not going to be that drastic. Do you get what I'm saying? Like if it's a super pastel ball python, obviously there's some super pastel ball pythons that are cool. And then there's ones that are like, oh man, look at that one. With Borneos, it's kind of whole different looks and colors of the same genetics, and they just keep going. I mean, Keith McPeak with his ghost stuff, that's plenty of proof right there. I mean, year after year, he would have new colors, new patterns, and because he had to describe them, he gave them all these names, and people took it so literal. It was just his way of describing them. And some people got mad, going like, "Oh, what is a cinnamon ghost? What is a blue ghost? What is a honey ghost? What is a whitetail ghost?" It was like that was just his way of describing them because there was so many different ghost looks.
And is it kind of, I mean, you mentioned before that it's line breeding for you, right? So like you're just picking out what you think is going to make the best combination and just kind of pairing them up that way.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, with Borneos, the cool thing is like you can take specific things on them. Like, I think Rob Christian works on that pretty much. So like his stripe stuff that he's doing has these speckles on the top of the neck on the two side patterns on the light stuff. If you find that on a snake and you want to start working that in, it seems like it should happen with almost anything that has some genetics in it where you're working hard on, but it doesn't always happen. You take something, you got a vision for it, you start working on it, you're like, that's not coming out. Seems like with Borneos, that seems to happen all the time. Like, so if you want like some speckles on the neck and your one animal has that, or for instance, like there was back in the day, I noticed one of my original marbles had this like just break in the tail that went back to regular color, just separated. And that would come out. So I didn't look for that, but it would come out in all my marbles almost all the time. Like there was just certain things. And then I started a long time ago with my stripe stuff. So stripe stuff, they call it tri-stripe, like a super stripe, because they have the dorsal stripe and they have the two other stripes. It looks like three stripes running down them, a super stripe. Well, on the clean sides of some of my super stripes, I was getting this faint, weird line going through them, like partial stripes and broken stripes. So there was a while, I think extreme marble started happening. So then I just kind of got refocused. But I was going to try to start making 5-line striped Borneos because
Jeez.
it was doing that. Now I went back to it and I got one downstairs that kind of has that stripe and it's almost going all the way through. And I think it can be, you can reproduce that and start getting it and then make it more predominant and all that other stuff. So.
Now, do you select for temperament in like as part of your pairings, or are you strictly going for looks and temperament be damned?
Yeah, I slack on the temperament part. I don't. It's sad to say I don't give a shit about temperament. I mean, I really don't. And I don't have the craziest snakes in the world, but I don't have a lot of trustworthy snakes. I can tell you that. But I used to have a lot of nice snakes, but I will say I do not ever do like complete psychotic one to psychotic one, because even one psychotic one with a just a regular one, like I would say like my best you get is like decent. Just one part crazy. I mean, I've had full, like, so it was a couple years ago. I have this Batrix. She's not nice. I didn't even realize just she kind of got calmer for me, but I mean, she will take a shot at you. She's not nice. She's always staring, ready to go. And I bred her to a albino goldeneye. And I think she's had albino because I did get albinos. And the albino goldeneye wasn't bad. Like he was pretty decent actually. Like I could just scoop him up. He's not bad. But that whole clutch came out just terrible. I mean, like they just struck at everything. They were every time I sold one, I put extreme warnings on them. Know what you're getting. I sold them all very cheap because they are just like I don't even want them reproduced. They all had all crazy genetics in them, so there's no way someone's going to buy it and probably not try to produce it. But I mean, they were all gorgeous animals. That's what sucked about the clutch. The clutch was beautiful. I mean, and I was like, I'm not holding anything back from here. They're terrible. They're just not good. And if anybody was new, I had to say, nah, like, because obviously the lower prices would bring someone around, be like, oh, I want it. And I would just be like, listen, I'm going to take a video of it and you're going to change your mind. And they're, because they're like, I heard you can turn them around. And that's definitely true. I said, I don't really think you're going to turn these around too much. Like, there's not going to be too much you're going to be able to do for these. They're just they were so wound up and not trustworthy.
Man, yeah. And for like a new keeper, that would have to be pretty scary. Like, you wouldn't want somebody to have that negative of an experience, if they're expecting to get a pet snake.
Yeah, I've had a few wild caughts when I was first starting, and they weren't great. These were way worse than any of the wild caughts I ever had. They were so bad. Like they just were I bought a few to a show thinking, let me see, because every once in a while you bring them to a show, they're going to strike at the acrylic for a little while, and then they kind of mellow out. No, I had to take them out of the acrylic. I mean, they just wouldn't stop popping. They were just so wound up. Like they're just going to hurt themselves. So I just had to take them out and put them away.
Jeez, dude. And in situations like that, I mean, like who are you even marketing those to then?
No, it's doing a negative effect because they're just looking at that and now they're coming over to watch the show and they're like, they're all like that. And it's, you got to explain that they're not. And yeah, it's not a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad. It's too bad that some of them come out like that. They're giving a bad name to the short tails.
They definitely do. I don't help. Because like I said, I wish I don't mind snakes being a little bit more wild. Like I said, I rarely handle anything just to sit there and handle it. I will say rough scales are the one animal I handle just to handle it. My Sanzinia. And that's about it. Like I like to handle both of them. They're decent and they're kind of fun how they interact. Short tails to me, they're just not that fun to hold. I mean, that's me personally. Like, yeah, they're impressive. They're impressive for a picture. But as far as holding them, when they're bigger, they just feel squishy. And even when they're kind of comfortable, they just look uncomfortable. Like they're just like, it just doesn't fit. But I'm not saying that people shouldn't hold them. That's their, if that's what they're into and their animal is used to that. But I don't know. And to be honest, I find when you don't work on their temperament, that maybe that's just me. They definitely feed better. I mean, they're all pretty
Mm.
good feeders at this point anyway, because they've all been so captive bred. But I definitely find that the more docile a clutch was, the tougher they were to feed.
Mm.
That was in
What do
my
you think about
experience.
what do you think about Rich Crowley's method of putting all the babies together and letting them bite the snot out of each other until they figure it out?
I actually liked Rich's theory on that when he said that, because I always leave my clutches together for a little while. I mean, you can't leave them together until they shed, because they'll be together for 90 days not eating.
Yeah.
But I do leave them together for a little while. But after I heard Rich say that, if they were that, like, if you breathe wrong on them when you checked on them and they all start biting each other, I started going a little bit longer. But I will say I didn't find it worked for me personally. But
Oh,
it
okay.
does seem to make a lot of sense. I do get what he's saying. But yeah, I always like to leave my clutch together for I'd say like 7 to 10 days, and then I start separating them.
Yeah. It's
But
wild how long they go. Like I had gotten a male blood from Kara, and she's like, and it's a beautiful animal, and she gave me pick of the litter and super cool. And very, very laid back little guy. And she was like, yeah, he hasn't shed yet. And it was a while that I had him before he shed. It's
yeah,
nuts how long they go before their first shed. It's crazy.
yeah, I feel like my sheds even go longer, because I do feed weekly, but I don't try to go too big on meals. So I feel like my Borneos and Bloods, I feel like Bloods shed quicker. I don't know what it is. They seem to shed a little bit faster than the Borneos do, no matter what. Because like I said, I can get a clutch in the same week of Borneos and Reds, feed them the same way, and I'll get the Borneos to shed, or the Bloods to shed, probably like a few weeks to a month before the Borneos do. But I've had
Mm.
some Borneo clutches that were eating fine go like 5 months on me, 6 months, and not shed yet. And they're bigger. I'm like, man, I don't know how your skin's still on you. Like, burst. Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, I've had this guy, I don't know how long I've had him now, but yeah, 2 sheds he's had. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's really crazy, and I like to get that, especially if you're new. It's cool even if you're not new, because it's just so much more maintenance when you're taking care of a whole bunch of them. They definitely have to be kept a lot more wet before they shed. They don't do well if they don't do that. And then once they shed, you can start keeping more normal, and then it's not as much of a mess, and they're not going to the bathroom as much because they're not wet all the time. So yeah, it's kind of a good thing to get that shed off of them, at least if you're working with a bunch of them. So you're just not dealing with making sure they're always hydrated and just having to go through all that.
So what size prey item do you start your animals on?
Well, Borneos come out a little bit smaller generally than Bloods, but either way, if you go too small, they just don't seem to have the effect, because they need something jumping around, going fast. So I generally go to small hoppers. Like, I got to make sure their eyes are open and they're kind of darting around. But I don't have a lot of issues feeding anymore, because, like I said, number one, mine are a little bit wilder. I don't know if that counts for anything, but they're just ready to go. And I put them in moss right away. Like, my old trick would be, you put a bunch of sphagnum moss in there, they kind of burrow down, and that would be a trick for tricky feeders. But because I just don't have the time to change out paper, because like I said, you got to wet them. So the paper will mold in a day, day and a half. So you have to do it every day.
Mm.
So I used to have the time and the patience to change 50 to 80 tubs out every day, every other day. And I just don't have that. So I go right to sphagnum
Jeez.
moss.
Yeah. Damn.
Well, there'd be like,
So,
you have to do that too. Like, one of Keith's methods were to keep his babies in just standing water. Um,
oh wow.
Yeah, but still, you got to dump the water every day. But that's a lot easier. But I tried it the 1 year, and I just found it a little trickier for feeding. I didn't ask Keith that. Still to this day, I wonder if he dumped a lot of the water before. I mean, it wasn't a lot of water to begin with, but if he dumped it before, because you put a quick hopper in there and he's all saturated, and you just kind of feel
Yeah.
bad for the animal too if they don't eat, because you just go in there and you just got like a little drowned looking mouse sitting there, like, what the hell.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I go right to sphagnum moss. It's a little bit more money, but it's a lot easier, and it's not as much changing things around.
So like when you have an animal that's like the age of my animals, like, year and a half, 2 years, how are you feeding them at that stage of life? Because I feel like these things are they go through growth spurts that are insane. Like it's crazy how fast they put on size, and then like, but then they'll go to the bathroom and look like they're way underfed and like super skinny, and it's like, God, am I feeding too much or not enough? I can't tell.
No, I think it's just the extreme of seeing them a little bit like, once they do unload because they take so long on, it's all coming out at once. So they definitely do look a little deflated. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, would you say yours about like a year and a half, 2 years?
Yeah. Yeah. Coming up on
I'm
two
still
years.
feeding every 7 to 10 days at that point. And by that point, like I said, I really do bring my animals along pretty slow nowadays. I'd say mine are taken between large, like very large mice to possibly weaned rats at that time.
Okay.
Like I'm very methodical about bringing my animals along now. Like I used to by old me, year and a half, 2 years, they were eating small rats and possibly moving to mediums. And now I just bring them along a lot slower.
Yeah. Maybe I need to slow down then. Maybe I'm feeding too large of
I don't
food
think you're
items.
doing. I don't think it's too much you're doing. I think it's just the preference and with the size of my collection and like I said, I'm just not in a hurry. Like I used to want to breed my females at 3.5, 4 years old. Now I don't care if I like now pretty much it's probably around 5 years old. I'm breeding my females and I'm breeding them a lot smaller. I don't care to uh just push them along that fast. And like I'm not saying it's fast in a bad way. I just don't need to do it. Which is also another funny argument people have when they're I think it's when they start getting their feet under them a little bit with snakes, or they believe they're further into it. Because I've seen a lot of arguments in short tail and blood forums where someone's having an issue. They'll say like, "Oh, my 2 year old eats a small rat" or something like that, and then someone will chime in like, "Wow, yours is really underfed or small because I got a 2 year old and it's close to eating large now." And it's like there's no like it's funny that people think that there's this rate that once they're two, they eat mediums. Once they're three, they eat large. Like that's just not the case. I mean, if they're
Yeah.
three and they're taking a mouse, that might be an issue. But I mean, it's there's no like one, they're doing small rats, and two, they're doing medium rats, and three, they're doing, you just never know. And like I said, with my adults, I could take a jumbo rat. I basically feed mediums for the most part, and it's enough.
Okay. So you stick with a medium rat kind of throughout the life of the animal if
I
they're
I go some larges. I don't think I feed. I think there's one. I got one blood and one Borneo that I feed a jumbo to once in a while. They're just still really big. They're from like my older stuff that I just kept. They're retired. But for the most part, a few larges throughout the year and then mostly mediums. That's kind of what I
Hmm.
do. But,
Okay. And like how often are you doing those mediums? Like every other week or
every mediums twice a month probably, and then if I do a large, it's once a month. And it's kind of a look thing. Like I don't keep feed cards or anything anymore. It's kind of a look thing. And then in my head, when I get my feeder list together, I go down with an index card and go, I got to get you one for sure. And that's kind of how I go about it.
yeah, that's kind of what Kara told me. She said feed the snake that's in front of you, and it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, that really makes a lot of sense, because some animals just grow wicked fast and other ones are slower.
for sure. And then depending on the size of your collection or just anything, I mean, if you're going to just mark like, oh, I feed every 10 days to everything, you're going to waste some feeders. You're going to drive yourself crazy. You're going to spend a ton of money depending on the size of your collection. I mean, like I said, some things just don't need to get fed. You look at it and you're like, you've been fine. Like there's no reason to feed you, like that's what it is. And there's some that are like, oh, you definitely need food. You must have went to the bathroom or, like you look like you need a few. Maybe I need to give you a large instead of a medium this week.
Yeah. And do you feed your females differently than your males?
Um, I feed my females heavier because they just need it for whatever, and males they just don't need it as much. Because like I said, I keep my males generally smaller, and I think the smaller they are, the better they just hold on to their weight, probably. And then, like I said, a female, if I think I'm breeding her, even if I'm not breeding her, I still want her to get that base a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't want to shock her with food for the season she is going to breed. Not that I think it will definitely shock her, but I don't want to completely just leave one behind. You know what I mean? Then go into winter, even though she's not breeding, and they rarely ever skip. But if they do skip, it is going to be in the winter. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So I will give my females a bit more. They need a bit more, I should say. I feel.
Do you cycle them off of food during the winter?
Yeah, I mean, if they don't need it, I don't feel, that they don't usually get it. Now, if I feel like when the feeders are coming in, I separate them all because I don't take that chance of, just the smell of food. If they are hungry, they could wrap each other up or whatever, and that could just be stressful. Um, if I catch the female buzzing around the front, I will try to feed her. And if she eats, but it'll be definitely a medium or even a small just to see if she eats. Because sometimes they'll take it and they'll just, I don't know, they just want to kill. They'll take it and leave it. That can happen too. But, and then the other thing I do is if it is paired and the pairing's not going well, I feel like they're doing stuff or they're not doing stuff. Sometimes if you feed that female one more time, it kind of kicks them into gear. Gets them like where they need to be, and then the breeding, she starts, I guess, inviting the male in or letting the male do what he needs to do.
What are some what's the process when you're first introducing animals? Like how do you have is it the normal? Does the male go into the female's tub? Do you leave the water bowl in? How does that first interaction go?
So generally the male goes in with the female. Sometimes there's exceptions, but it would be a weird exception. I can't even think of an example why. But yeah, so the male will go in with the female. Water bowl gets dumped. I dump it. I generally take it out where I just dump it, wipe it down, turn it upside down. So there's no reason to share water. You don't need to do any of that. And that's pretty much how it is. And my goal is to do 24 to 48 hours. I will admit sometimes I'm just like, they've been in there for 3 days, but I will go down like, all right, time to pull it. And then you hear they're together. So I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad I slacked on it. Good job of me being lazy today. So, but it's always a little bit more because they don't have water and they love drinking is that would be the reason to not keep them in for like a week together. You know what I mean? Because I want to make sure the first thing I do is they both get water, and sure enough, they are both usually guzzling water when they go back in. You can hear them blowing bubbles and doing all their stuff. And it's funny. Sometimes like when I start the day, if I'm down there for an hour and a half or 2 hours, I mean, it's a good sized crock bowl. And I'll go and just look, and they emptied the bowl. Like, it's done. Like, I'll give you another bowl of water. It's just crazy how much they drink.
It is nuts. I've noticed that because I still have mine with deli cups in their tubs, and I'll go in there and I'm like, how did you drink 2/3 of that water? Like, I'm used to my carpets and stuff, they hardly drink any water.
Yeah. Now it would be rare to keep a blood or a short tail and not catch them or hear them drinking. Like for anybody that has a weird thing, like I want to see a snake drink, just find a short tail. Like they'll drink. You're going to find them drinking too much, which is also a weird thing for new people because that triggers if they're well read and they're kind of cautious, the fake respiratory infection because they drink so much that they almost carry it in their throat. And when they get the bullfrog throat, that's a sign of a possible respiratory infection. And then if they move them or touch them or the snake gets weirded out, they have so much water in them, they'll release some. And because it's mixed with the saliva, it looks a little thicker. And I'm like, I saw mucus raise out of their nose or whatever. And then you got to clear it up. Like, how clear was it? Was it real thin? And was the water bowl empty? And they're like, yeah, it was empty. I heard them in there. It's like, it's probably just, water. And sure, most of the time it is. So it's, but they will fake a lot of people out with that.
Oh man, dude. Yeah. I pulled one out once and it just dumped water out of its mouth.
They'll just
holy shit.
It's like drool. and your first reaction is to shit yourself because you're like, oh my God, is this a respiratory infection? What's wrong with it? And it just guzzled water. It just doesn't hold it all down pretty much.
Man. Yeah, it's so the whole point of flipping the water bowl is to try to keep them from potentially sharing any diseases.
For sure, yeah, because they're definitely a very nervous, shy species, and they are prone to upper respiratory infections. So I've had plenty of seasons where I've bred pairs and one will have a respiratory infection and the other one won't, and they've been together. And it's because sometimes they both will, but I think it helps when their water bowl is not there, because if one does have a respiratory infection, drinks from that water bowl, and the other one goes in there, they're 100%. The other way the snake's going to get it is if, somehow the saliva is on the body and they rub back through. There's always a good chance if one has it and one doesn't. But like I said, when you're pairing animals, it's wintertime. If you got dryness, they stress each other out. You're definitely going to be more prone to getting upper respiratory infections then. And then if you got the water bowl, and I think you're increasing the odds. So
yeah, it's how do you even bring animals into your collection that much anymore, or are you kind of self-sustaining where you're just having holdbacks, or are you still buying short tails?
I wish I was just doing my own thing. No, this year I probably bought it. This year has been a pretty big year. I probably bought in like 4 new bloods, 3 new Borneos. Wow. Yeah, so I have 2 incubators that are both big, and luckily my animal plastics incubator, I got that. So upstairs I keep my Sanzinia, and I got my incubator that I incubate eggs in a spare bedroom, and then in my son's room, it's just a white incubator. He's got room, so I put my animal plastics incubator in there, and that's my quarantine incubator rat. That's my quarantine thing. So because upstairs just gets colder, or because he's got an air conditioner in the summer, or the wintertime is just colder, turn on the incubator to 80. I have tubs. I put them in there, and it just stinks because, like I said, I got one place to basically quarantine animals. So try to get them all together, or as close together as I can, because if I'm quarantining something and I'm on month 3 and then I bring something new in, well, now it's staying upstairs longer, because it's not like, once you enter something new in there, the process starts all over again. Mm. But yeah, I've added too much stuff this year. So
are you going to be breeding the Sanzinia?
No, so my issue with Sanzinia now is that I've got 2 males that I'm raising that are a little bit older. The one male is cool, probably be ready to breed next year. But the 2 females I got are last year's babies. So I'm a while away. So I will be eventually, but it's going to be a while, because like I said, the babies they're downstairs in the reptile room, because they're just easier to put in the tub right now, smaller enclosure. So I got them better off, and they're taking like small mice. So it's going to be a while before I'm breeding any Sanzinia, and I'm not going to rush them. Where upstairs I got one male's taking like small winged rats, and the other one's taking pretty much small rats. So
wow, they're so cool, dude. Their heads are like dinosaur heads.
Yeah, they are. That's another, I like the way snakes' heads look. Those things are awesome looking. They're so crazy.
What what is their, how do you keep them? What are like their temperature parameters, and is it necessary to drop them during the winter?
Well, yeah. So I'm pretty new to the greens, but I've had the mandarins for a while. Now I'm down to 1. I'm getting rid of the mandarins because I don't have a female. I don't feel like getting one, because I'm just going to focus on the greens. When I did the mandarins, I kept them in my dining room before upstairs. I feel like they were just so rock solid. Like whatever, I've got heat panels in there, but I barely turn them on, and I would basically turn them off at night. I feel like they can get down to like 65, 70 and be fine. They would eat that way. And dry a little on the drier side, they were fine. They would shed in a full piece. If they spilled their water bowl, or I decided to miss the bedding, they were fine. Like I never noticed anything wrong. And so far I'm doing the same with the greens, and they've been rock solid. Like it's kind of all over the place. I know to breed the greens, from what I'm understanding, it's important to get them into the 60s. And that's another reason why I'm keeping them upstairs, because I can definitely get them to the 60s upstairs. In my reptile room, there's no way I can get them to the 60s.
Mm. What's the temperature in your reptile room?
It's generally between 77 and 81, depending on what time of year it is, like just from naturally getting up. I set it for 77, but in the summertime, it gets up to 80, 81, depending on the humidity. Wintertime, it sits at 77, gets down to 76.
Mm. And is it pretty humid in there too?
In the summer, it's too humid almost. But it's good because of all the short tails. Right now, I got to run a humidifier down there. It stinks because I had this humidifier from Amazon that I don't have the money to keep buying like purified water or whatever. So the hard water just trashes the humidifier. And this thing went strong for like 2 years. This one humidifier I had. I mean, you set it digitally and it would be pretty close. And even in the winter, I'd get it 45, 55 if I wanted to. I bought that one's not for sale anymore on Amazon. I bought one that was like it. It was not like it at all. I couldn't get the humidity past 15%. And now I found one that's decent.
Whoa.
Yeah, I found one that's decent and it gets the humidity between 35 and 40%. Like right now, as it's like so dry.
Yeah.
Because it's, we're in the single digits here and it's just been extremely dry.
Yeah,
Problem is though, I got to make sure I keep it going on full blast, like fill it up right away. Every once in a while it will go off and it's like been an hour and I got to refill it. My room goes right to like 20% humidity. And which isn't like, it's not terrible, but it's not, I don't want my room at 20% humidity with all the short tails.
Yeah. Have you thought about getting RO water? Because, dude, I got an RO filter under my sink in my kitchen and no hardness at all. It takes all the hardness out.
I should probably get that. I should, because like I said, the Philadelphia's water is such hard water. It's just ridiculous how just chalky and hard it is. You can see it on anything that's black down there or whatever. So it's, I should get some kind of water filter. I know in my old house, I thought about getting that whole, the Home Depot would knock on your door with the water company and you get the green salt and all the water's soft and all that stuff. I was thinking about doing that, but I was like, that's just way too much money. I can't do that. So,
well, even I'm on well water down here, and our water is still hard as shit. Like I thought that our water softener was like really bringing down the hardness, but it didn't. It just kind of adds salt and like passes through polymers, and I guess it changes like some of it. So we had to, I was still getting water spots on everything. Like if I missed, like I'll go through and I'll like mist my coconut once a week, and I was still getting like the hard water spots on the cages. So I had my water guy put in an RO system, and holy shit, dude. Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah, I guess I should probably look into that. Like I said, it's hard to keep up with. Like there would be times I would bring home like bottled water or whatever, but I'm like, I can't do that. I think I'm running through. I mean, shit, that thing's going through like 4 to 5 gallons of water a day. I'll just it's just too crazy, too much to be bringing that home. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you got to get an RO filter.
Yeah. And what's crazy is I liked the cocoa chips, the bedding for a while. And I was like experimenting with it. Probably like when I first got in this house years ago, I was like, oh, for my adults, it's a little bit better. But I get so humid down there in the summer that when I would do paper for my adults, it would get saturated without them spilling water or anything. So I needed to do the chips because I'm like, it's just funky in there. It was too much because I do like paper, but I like for the adults and the bigger stuff to have the stuff to burrow down under. If I could afford all the chips, I would, because I did do that for a little while. When I went to Australia, I had to because I wasn't going to have anybody over here too much. And I was like, I need to put everything on bedding so nobody's like soaked out. And that just opened my eyes to what I can't really afford to do cocoa for everything. Like I could, but it would be tough.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I have I recently got a pair of indigos and I have those on paper right now.
And shit machines.
Dude, it is wild. But I mean, they're so cool. They're such cool snakes that it's going to be well worth the effort. But
yeah, for sure.
Like right now I have a method. And so like, it's hard. It's always hard for me to like go from one thing to another because I get like anxiety of how am I going to handle this? And like right now they're on paper. So when they soil the paper, I have another tub set up with paper and I just swap the animal over and clean that tub and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But thinking about keeping them in an enclosure with substrate, I'm like,
it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of maintenance, right?
I feel like it will be, but I'll deal with it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I jumped on it. Did I jump on a thread for yours too? Because someone was trying to come at you about you had some smaller stuff in racks.
Oh yeah. You're my, you and Kara are my defense.
Well, I definitely am on the defensive side of so I keep short tails, and racks work really well for them. I've never been someone that cared if you want to do an enclosure or anything like that. The only thing I was always against glass tanks, which you probably should be for a snake. It's just hard. It's too tough. everybody wants to use a glass aquarium as a newer person. I used to say, oh, you can, if you were experienced, you could use one. But I was like, but I don't even know why I would say that, because in my head, I'm like, nobody that has experience uses a glass aquarium. Like
Yeah.
everybody knows it's just difficult. They don't hold temps well. It's crazy. So that'd be the only thing that I would never just even say no to. I just like, that's really not a good idea. But I mean, I don't know if it's as bad anymore. I'm just not paying attention. I know when the whole pet tuber thing was like blasting off and pet reptile podcasts were going crazy, it was like the popular thing to just shit on racks. Racks were the worst. They were all like the buzzwords. Is it surviving or thriving? And I would get bent out of shape because I would see keepers that kept in racks like feeling forced to move over just because like they want to take pictures of their stuff and they don't want to hide it. My thing with racks is, for anybody, you don't have to like them, you don't have to love them, but you do got to respect that for certain species, for certain things, they work really well. Like, of course, if you're someone that wants to keep in a beautiful big enclosure, that's awesome. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? But when you have 100 snakes sometimes, and the snake can be used in a rack and do really well in there, it's just going to be a lot better for the snake and for the keeper. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's kind of crazy, like I said. And the other thing is, for newer keepers or people that are getting smaller animals, just like you're doing, I feel like the smaller animal is better off in a rack because you can monitor it better and you can learn about your animal better. I think it takes time for the animal to gain trust and be comfortable to get put into a bigger enclosure. I feel like everybody that gets a snake and just dumps it in a big enclosure, number one, you usually get providing a lot of places for that thing to hide and move around and do all this stuff. So you're not really seeing your snake. You're not seeing what's going on. And by the time you might see something wrong, or you really can't, but by the time you see something wrong, you're going to be too late. And you also can't really figure out their behavior and learn about your snake, because you're like, oh, it's great, but it sits in this hammock and goes up top. But I'm like, are you really learning about what the snake does? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of important that way. And then I feel like when you learn about what your snake does, you'll then be able to tell this snake is ready for a big enclosure. It's ready for a bigger enclosure. It's ready to have all this room and all these things to do. But I feel like racks have gotten to such a negative stigma where, yeah, racks can be terrible. You can't just jam any snake into a rack. And depending on the tub size, like, that's another thing. Like, racks just come as a one thing. Like, there are tubs that are as big as 4-foot cages, and they have height to them. So they need to stop being so demonized. I feel like, where, like I said, you don't have to be someone that loves a rack, likes the way they look, but you do got to understand that these snakes don't just survive in them, they thrive in them. So they can, but like, there are some that don't belong in there. And just same thing with enclosures. Like, you can't take a hatchling, for the most part, any python, and put it in a 6x2x2 enclosure. You're going to have a shit time. Like, that's a bad thing too. Just as someone jamming a 4-foot snake into a 32-quart rack looks really bad, you putting a hatchling or a juvenile snake in a 6x2 looks really bad too. It's going to probably stress the snake out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about, I think, like, the problem is, I think a lot of people want to get the animal and set it up the way it's going to be for its entire life.
Well, that is one thing, but I do feel like with pet people, that's not the thing. And they're the ones like the pet personalities, and they would be the ones like really shitting on it. You know what I mean? Like, really trashing it. And something that I thought about, which I'm glad I didn't go through with, sitting on my couch back there, looking at my one dining room wall. I'm like, I could use something on that wall, something really cool to interact with. And I was like, green tree monitors. So my thing was, all right, let's start learning about green tree monitors. Off the top of my head, even before I learned, I'm like, I'm picturing a green tree monitor enclosure being good closet size, something 5-6 feet high by 3 foot back or 2 foot back. So I'm like, all right, let me start getting part of Facebook groups for green tree monitors. And I go to the search bar, I start looking at enclosures and what it is. And people are saying, no, we're better off getting something 6 foot across and 30 inches or 36 inches high, because the proper temperatures they need, it's really hard to achieve it at the bottom and could be dangerous. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's just really tough. And everyone that basically said they have them, nobody does that. It's just very difficult to get the proper temperatures. So basically, bigger was not better for them, which I'm thinking it's going to be a pet. It's going to go in my dining room. Let me give it everything I can give it. You know what I mean? Which I would never just do. And like I said, with something like that, it would have to be 6 months of learning about it before I even scratch the surface. here I'm not ready for an everyday animal. I'm glad I didn't do that. And,
Yeah.
that's going to be down the line. But yeah, that's what basically, like I said, even what my thoughts were would have been totally bad. They would have been so wrong. And everybody said that would have been such a mistake. So, because I've heard some
Yeah.
people say bigger is always better, which I'm like, that couldn't be a worse thing to say. I don't think, because it's just not, it's not a great thing to spread around. I know in theory it sounds better for your reptile, but bigger is not always better.
Yeah, especially for short tails. I mean, like, and you dealing predominantly with short tails, like I moved my my two female bloods into 4x2x2s,
Yeah.
and they disappeared under the substrate, and then they got very defensive in a short period of time. And I'm like, shit, man, like I kind of undid everything that we had going, where it was easier to interact with them, where I could just go in. What are you doing? Are you in shed? I can check everything. Let me change your water. I can give you a couple pets on the back to desensitize you to my presence. And then all of a sudden, like once they're under this deep, like 4 inches of substrate,
Yeah.
and, I go and touch them and it's just that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, like this is not, so back to the tub, we're going to reevaluate and get to that at a later date.
Yeah, and most likely you're going to go through those growing pains of putting them in a cage. But yeah, it probably is a little too early. Like that's what it is. And I got to bring myself along up to speed. Like I said, I never had an issue with enclosures, but that is the way the hobby's going. People want to do more enclosures, more bigger cages, and I never had an issue with that. I do think it's crazy. Sometimes people are talking getting 8-foot cages for short tails, like 8x2s, because number one, they don't need any height. I mean, for anybody that's like, oh, my blood climbs. Yeah, when you re-enter in a cage, it goes all over the place. You know what I mean? Like that's what they do. But then once it settles down, it has its 1 or 2 spots it's going to go to. And I doubt that's going to be high up on something. Like it's going to be really rare. And if it is high up on something, I would start worrying, figuring like what's going on. Is it high near a heat panel because it's cold? Is it soaked down there? Like why is it high up on something? Because it's not natural for them to go high up on something. Like that would be weird. It's just like I said, when people panic when their green tree python goes to the ground, they do ground, but people panic. They're like, why is it on the ground? Like what's going on? I mean, it's not completely normal, but when I had a lot of green tree pythons, I did have some ground and I didn't panic. And I only think one time it was a bad thing. But yeah, it's definitely odd to walk into your reptile room and be like, what the hell? Like that thing is just on the ground, not hunting, just sitting on the ground. So, like I said, the other 95% of my collection was up high and never came down, only to drink water or maybe check for food.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing I was going to say, the other thing about like, I think they got like a bad rap and that people always sold people with cages was that they would take pictures of their ball python climbing or something like that. And I have stuff in cages. I have my rough scales are in cages. And I think everything has like a 4 to 8 week window where they're going to explore the whole cage. They're going to check everything out. And then they are going to lock it down to 1 to 3 spots they like. Because I remember my rough scales, I was like, oh my God, dude, if that's the spot they like, because I got universal stone backgrounds for them with stone ledges.
Oh, nice.
And I remember just going like, oh, if that's going to be the spot, that's going to be so awesome for pictures. And sure enough, it wasn't. But they did hang out there for a couple of days. And now the spot for my female is at the part of this perch that I cut my own logs for. She's always in the one spot. We're always under the ledge in the back corner. And my male is actually on the top ledge, which doesn't look as cool, but it is cool, or wedged in the back. Like they're only in them 2 spots. But when I put them in there for like 6 weeks, they used every ledge, every part of the wood. They were all over the place. And I wasn't fooled. I was like, they're eventually going to settle down into one spot. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I actually just graduated my my pair of Fortune Line Occidentalis to 4x2 enclosures that were vacated, and I was finally able to get my Antaresia out of the rack because they can't squeeze out of their cage, so now they can go into their 3x2 enclosure. Okay. And the Occidentalis are all over the place. They're everywhere, and they were in 3x2s, but they're just I think they're just figuring out like how hot is it up, up on this branch, and how cold is it down here.
And they're 3x2s. They were in there for a while. Did you find them in pretty much the same sort of spots generally?
Oh yeah. Well, and that's what's cool too, and that's what I love about watching my snakes is, did they just eat? Are they in shed? Or are they hungry? And like those three things will determine where they're going to be. If they're in shed, they're going to be in their hide. Yeah. If they just ate, they're going to be on top of their hide basking. And if they're if they're hungry, they're going to be up in the branches, hanging down, looking, and like,
yeah, exactly.
So I could see those three behaviors, but it was in a smaller, I wish that as a hobby, I wish that we could, there's two things I wish that people would be cool with putting their snakes in a smaller enclosure, and that there were more like turnkey small, like PVC enclosures. I know, New Age Pet has some that are small, but it all depends. It's like, is the animal eating? Like that's what's important. Are they eating? Are they secure? Are they defensive? Are they, how are their sheds? Are their sheds good?
Yeah,
like that.
That's like what I'm talking about. All.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that some of those same people that I would like watch just to get pissed off at back in the day would go, well, it's okay when the animal's not eating that you put it in a tub so you get it eating. And I'm thinking like, you're kind of answering your own question. It's like, you're saying it's just to eat. You'll take this animal, you put it in its enclosure, and you're like, oh, it's not eating. So now I put it in this tub for like a month or 3 weeks because I want to get it some meals and get it comfortable, or even longer. And it's just because I want to get it started and be ready. It's like, well, that's what it's comfortable with. Like, so a tub, it's not even a rack sometimes. Cause like I said, if you get caught putting stuff, some people would have really big tubs. If you go to the Container Store, how many different tubs are there? There's tubs that are 30 inches high. It's not 1990, early 2000s where you only got Iris, Rubbermaid, and Sterilite, and the biggest you're getting is like 6 inches height. Like you can get tubs, you can build your own, you can get a company to build it. Reptile companies are making tubs. So there are things made for arboreal species and bigger species. There's never going to be a rack where you can keep a retic or a Burman for its full life. That's that's just not going to happen. Like but you can definitely keep those species when they're small in those things and do really well with them to bring them along for that ride. Like that's the much better thing, because that snake is going to go through so many size progressions. If you're trying to get it cages all the way up to keep it comfortable and thriving along, it could be a nightmare. And then if you just want to go and take this snake and put it in its forever home, which you believe is a 12-foot, something like that, it's probably going to be a lot of problems. And I don't think you're really going to learn about your snake too much.
Yeah, it's that video that you're talking about was my youngest Occidentalist, and ironically, like I had a bad experience with my pair where they both regurged, and even though they were in tubs, but I think I had them on substrate, and that kind of complicated issues too, where then, okay, maybe I should have had them on paper so I could have, seen their bowel movements easier, like there's so many things that you can do just to optimize and try to be as, I don't want to say as efficient as possible, but I don't even just to be as thorough as possible, and that's what I wish that like some of the bigger companies or like I wish that they would sell maybe like a 2-rack or a 2-tub rack for new keepers that are like, hey, I'm getting a little tiny baby ball python, and it probably shouldn't go right into a 4x2x2. So I'm going to start out with this small enclosure, like a bassinet, like you would have for a baby, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to feed, and it's going to shed, and I'm going to be able to observe all this behavior in there and just make it a little bit easier for the keeper to have that. And it would be really cool if they were like turnkey, man. Like if they had a built-in thermostat and built-in heating and like 2 tubs and just a little rack. And guess what? 2 tubs. Oh, I don't have 2 snakes. I just want one ball python. Well, now you can have a clean tub and
Yeah.
a tub that they're living in. And as soon as they soil that tub, you can swap them, put them in the other one, and you're good to go. Like, I feel like that would be really marketable.
I can't remember the rack company. I think they did some PVC cages and racks, and I don't think they do it anymore. They were selling single slot tubs that you can stack. So you can add them on as you go, kind of for that purpose. Like, hey, if you don't want to buy a full rack because you only have one or two or you don't plan on keeping it in here, you can, and it was different sizes. So it was like you can buy this row that had like two shoebox size or one that was a little bit size up or a 32 quart size. And it was like, it had the heat built in and all that stuff. And it gave with directions. I don't think it's around anymore though. I don't think it actually even did well. So.
Oh, damn. Well, there goes my business idea.
No, I mean, well, you maybe could if you marketed it right in a pet store. Like that wasn't in a pet store. That was, you're going on as a reptile rack, and it was probably hard for people to discover maybe that would use that more. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like you see people at shows walking around with like a 10-gallon tank under one arm and a ball python in their hand.
It's the ball python starter kit.
Yeah. And it's like, that little guy would be a lot happier in something that's more secure, and I'm not saying like not with adequate space or height to where you couldn't put like a cork round in there or something and enrich their environment and give them things to stimulate them. But yeah, it's, at the end of the day, it's like I keep my animals in these enclosures very, very selfishly for me. Like I want to observe them. Like that is, if I kept in racks and tubs, I probably wouldn't want to keep, because I like just watching my animals. I like walking around and staring at them.
And that's what I mean. There's zero wrong with that. But I also feel like you're doing it very right, where you're taking the animals when you get them, you're quarantining, you're putting them in tubs so you can monitor them better. And then they're adjusting to everything. And then you can then put them into a better, bigger enclosure where you can admire them more and everything else. And that's what it really is about. It is for the keep. If it's not, it's got to be for both. It's got to be good for the keeper and the kept. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Because if you're just doing it for the kept and you're losing your mind, you're not going to have any fun with that animal, for sure.
Yeah.
And if it's just for you and the animal's struggling, then you're obviously doing it all wrong too. You can't do that. So, but like I said, I would always laugh at that survive versus thrive, because I can't remember any of the people's names. Not that I'd probably put them out there, but I remember like it was like two people and they were so like, yeah, I see snakes in racks and they're eating and they shed, but they're just surviving. And I'm like, well, it's funny that snakes only survive in racks because I breed in racks. The female lays her eggs in a rack. They get hatched. They go directly in a rack and then they move their life cycle up and go all the way to breeding again. So I'm like, man, my snakes have been surviving through 20 years of keep on reproducing each other. So that's a lot of surviving that's going on over there. And I would just laugh at that. Like, you make these buzzwords and then everybody jumps on and crushes. And I know I'm not someone that thinks we'll ever have full unity. There's always going to be that thing if they see a snake in a tub. I just saw it. Someone had a green Sanzini in a tub. I think it's on one of the Sanzinia groups. And the second comment was like, what a shame. And the person's like, why, what a shame? And he's like, that's a dream species of mine. Look how you're keeping it. And he goes, that's because it's small. It will be moving to a cage. You should see my cages. But I don't even feel like the guy should have to defend himself for that, because yes, Sanzinia can probably do well in a rack. I don't want to keep my Sanzinia in a rack, but I know that you can pick a tub that had some adequate height and they could live fine in there if they really wanted to. And it would probably be great for them. It's not like they would be struggling, but right away someone just comments like, what a shame. You know what I mean? What a shame that snake's growing and starting to do well and you're going to get it into an enclosure. Like, just to make that kind of a jackass assumption right away is stupid.
Yeah, it's really disappointing, because I've had those comments come my way, and it's like, you should see my wall of caging. I mean, I've probably spent like $10,000 on caging the last 2 years. Like, but you're gonna judge me on how I'm rearing my adolescent snake.
They need to listen to you for a little bit, because you're too responsible as a snake keeper. If you ask me, like you want so many things and you got the patience to be like, I don't have the room for it and I've got to wait till like 2 years. See, where you're at, that makes no sense for me already. Because once you get like 15 of them, you're just like, I can just keep plugging it in and finding space. I'm gonna make it work. I'll get in trouble and figure it out later. Like, that's how we all operate and are stupid. You seem too damn tame. You're like, I really want this, but I have to wait. And then you do, and then you see it come to fruition. I'm like, it's weird how that all happened. Usually I just get myself in trouble. Like, I'm just going to grab a bunch of these.
You're like, well, who was I just talking? I think I was talking to Sean Perry, and he was like, you should get those and find space or something. And I'm like, dude, I have snakes that are gonna live in my living room. Like I am overflowing. All right. Like I'm at max capacity. I gotta, and that is my thing. Like if I'm getting an animal, I do need to think like, okay, what is the eventual footprint of this animal going to be? Like where is it going to be? And how much space is it going to take up?
Yeah, that's not a normal thought for most of us. Like I said, and I think I'm doing pretty good because I have pretty much a whole house to just me and my kids. I do have pretty much a basement full of snakes. I got a spare bedroom with some snakes in it, lots of cages so I can put more in there. And then I got my son's room, which is my quarantine room. But I mean, I have living rooms, dining room. I could be doing so much more, and I'm not. And I'm like, good, let's not go too crazy. I don't need animals in every room and everywhere to go. I got a big enough basement. But if 10 years ago, this whole house would be ridiculous. It would be crazy in here. It'd be a zoo the whole way through. I'd probably have stuff in my kitchen.
My house basically is a zoo. Like when people come over now, they're like, wow, this looks really cool. And, it's kind of show and tell. We don't have basements in Florida. So it's kind of like, I'm going to eventually probably get a building. But at the same time, I like the snakes being in the house so I can like come home from work and be talking to my wife and looking at stuff at the same time, or, like I'm still, I still feel like I'm part of the family while I'm doing maintenance or waters or, scooping poop or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like whereas if I get a building, I'm going to be like totally detached,
The dream for me always was to have like a separate thing, like a guest house or something like that. But at the same time, I felt like you, like there's going to be times where you disappear out there and then you're not exactly in the house. So then I have to probably set up an area for my kids to be in and then something for them to do. Well, just my daughter, my son's 17, but something for my daughter to do because she's younger. Or, when you go through them burnout periods where it's hard to get your ass to go down and do stuff, but you have to. If I got to go into a separate building now, that's going to be even harder to do. Like I got to go walk out into another building and get stuff done. So that would just make it even harder. So I am kind of glad it's in the house. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a dream to have a separate thing because the once in a while when you get something that doesn't eat or, you play find the smell, it's never fun to have people in and they're like, the hell's that smell? It's like, oh my God. That's just
dude,
like,
I have indigos in my bedroom.
That's gotta be, that's a good smell in there.
My wife is like, what? It smells like there's burning rubber. And I'm like, oh, the indigo must have pooped.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. You get barometric pressure or rain in the summer and all the short tails decide to unload like they do. I mean, that's not that big. You get smelled it as soon as you open the basement door. But like when something forgets to eat or the once in a blue moon, I get a regurg, the upstairs is so bad. And then I'm paranoid. I'm like, I don't want anyone in here because I know it smells weird. And it's funny because when I have my friends over, they're not reptile people, like my regular friends. And they're like, dude, it's crazy that I know it's downstairs and it does not smell up here. Like I mean, they've smelled if it doesn't, they're like, I smell that. But besides that, they're like, your normal house smell is not like, you wouldn't think you have pets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can smell my dog some, but I mean, everybody has a dog, has some kind of a dog smell. So
yeah. They wouldn't think that you have 100 plus snakes.
No, I know when I used to live in my old house, there would be people that found that out. They'd be like, someone would be like, there's like 200 snakes on there. You're like, get the hell out of here. And then of course, then you got to show them and they're like, what? And how comes it doesn't smell like a pet store in here? And, it's like, I don't know.
Well, I think it's the lack of mammals. I think that when you introduce mammals, that's where the smell comes from,
It's also not just the animals, it's the food, the pet food. Like if you can smell dog food and all the bedding and all that, like there's a whole mixture of stuff. But I mean, everyone's been in a gross pet store and they just, and it's not always the reptiles, like you said, it's the mammals. They just, they got ferrets. If you got ferrets, they just stink. I don't know how anybody would keep a ferret.
Dude,
they might be cool as hell, but they stink.
Yeah. Dude, I had ferrets when I was a kid and even into, I think, my 20s. And yeah, man, the smell from them is wild.
It's bad. I there was always once in a while, someone had a ferret and you would just be like, they look cool as hell, but I'm like, is it always smell like that? And it's like, yeah, they just always stink.
They always smell. And what stinks is like, no pun intended. What really stinks about it though is like you can litter box train them, and they are so cool. They're such cool pets. They're such awesome pets, but the smell is just you can't negotiate with that smell.
Nah, it's pretty bad. We had a hedgehog for a little while. I thought the smell was going to be worse. It wasn't a bad smell. I mean, you had to keep up on them, but it wasn't bad for a hedgehog.
Can you litter box train them?
You can, I think you can. I didn't even attempt it. Mine was really rock solid, but it wouldn't eat bugs like it was supposed to. It would only eat like fruits and paste and stuff like that, and some cat food. They're just weird. They're just weird animals. They do get used to like one. I mean, they get used to certain people. I was like one that can go in and scoop it up without it always just rolling into a ball, stabbing you with its quills. But they hiss a lot. If you get it too cold, it will hibernate, and it was. They weren't as fun as I thought they would be. Let's put it that way. But
yeah,
I also thought it'd be way more difficult. I'm not really a mammal guy, and it wasn't. It wasn't difficult at all. It was just not that fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're so cute though.
They are
They
cool.
are
They're definitely cool looking. I see the appeal. But then you get one and you're like, I could, if you like those, if someone liked them and thought they didn't like reptiles, I could talk you into 30 different reptiles that are way better than that.
Get a bearded dragon.
Bearded dragon is not a top list for me, but it's way better than a hedgehog. It's way cooler.
Yeah.
You're going to have way more fun.
Blue tongue skinks are cool. I feel like they have to be like one of the best pet lizards.
My buddy Zach really kept them, and they were cool. He was really into them, and it's like having a snake almost. That's what it looks like and kind of seemed like. But yeah, I can see. It's funny. I love the look and everything about a bearded dragon more, but I'd probably rather keep a blue tongue.
Yeah,
I had a bearded dragon before. They're just not. It wasn't my thing. They're just boring. I felt bad. I had it forever, and it was just a thing I fed and cleaned. I didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really fun watching like Ron's posts on all the different blue tongues he's popping out.
Ron just kills it with everything and anything. I think he could just make anything interesting. So the way he talks,
yeah, I saw him at Daytona, and I came up and he didn't recognize me. Dennis said I was incognito. I had like
if you don't have your hat on, I probably would walk right by you. Be honest, I've seen you without your hat, but I would probably walk right by you if you didn't have your hat on.
I had no logo shirt. It was just a t-shirt and like hat and glasses, like super low key, social anxiety, touch of the tism, like trying to blend in, and
it can be intimidating. Yeah.
Ron was like, I didn't recognize you at first. I was like, who is this weirdo standing here waiting for this customer to leave? But yeah, it was good. It's always good seeing Ron.
I've never got to meet him in person. I've like spoke to him here and there, like through just messages. And I hope you don't think I'm like a crazed fan, because every time he has a podcast and I listen, I try to do that for anybody that I enjoy their podcast. I try to drop on and say like, great job. That was awesome. Listen, I actually feel bad. I didn't do it for Kara last time. And I wanted to thank both of you. You both said like really kind words about me. And it was a awesome listen. Like that was a really cool show. I mean, I'm obviously enjoying because you're in the Bloods. Like the Sean Perry show was awesome. So it's been fun listening to you because you got a little bit of a blood short tail obsession. So
yeah, dude, I feel like the short tail community is one of the coolest communities and one of the most low key communities in like the reptile community as a whole,
Yeah.
Like I like everybody that I interact with that's into bloods is just a cool person, Yeah.
And I feel that, I mean, it's sort of our community. So it's hard to be like, I'm going to be biased, but I do feel good about it because I feel like with other people, there's a lot of like, even if they're friendly, there's a lot of like, oh, that person sucks or whatever. I feel like we've always been real tight knit for the most part. I mean, there's always a little bit of something maybe between somebody here and there, but it's very rare that was ever like that. Like me coming up watching the big, like I said, what I would consider the big breeders and bloods and short tails when I was coming up, I was like, wow, they all talk, because I was also into the ball python thing. And I would hear a lot more like you would never see certain people respond to each other. Like, oh, that's because they hate each other. And I'm like, and I know the ball python thing was bigger and there was a lot more money. But when I was coming up in Bloods, there was, a select like 10 people. And I'm like, they all seem to interact with each other. They all kind of, and I still feel that way to this day. Like people, we have a good rapport and we can talk to each other. And there's never, I just don't feel like it's like a lot of competition and backstabbingness. And maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I'm not involved enough to where I see it. But like I said, when you go on the main blood group, Kara does a good job of keeping it all together. And I don't feel like there's a lot of need to have to do anything crazy because no one's really attacking each other or there's not extreme drama or shit talking. So
yeah,
it's a good, I gotta say for the Morelia community, I fell for that community too, because I didn't even have any Morelia, but like getting involved with Eric and Owen, I was like, wow, all these people are so cool. And going to Carpet Fest, I'm going as like a lonely other species person, which other people had stuff, but I would be going with no Morelia, and it was so cool to like hang out with all them guys. And that's even probably a bigger community with, more stretched out. And obviously they have some of their things, but for the most part, they all seem super tight knit too. Like it was like it's a really good community.
Yeah. And even like, you have like your different areas of that community, like the cross guys and, the pure guys and the lineage guys. And,
for sure. Like, yes. Yeah. And I think that might be why they might be a little bit more, like I said, I think they're bigger. Whenever you get bigger, there might be a little bit more like underlying stuff. But yeah, there's a lot more substance there. But like you said, and it's not just carpets, it's a little bit of everything. And they, even though, chondros that shouldn't be Morelia, they're kind of involved, but they kind of separate themselves. And then, people that like Morelia, like scrubs a lot. And it goes all them different branches. Like you said, you got your pure people, you got your cross people, you got your morph people. And it just probably steps on a lot more toes. But I feel like for what it is, they got it together really well. Like it's like I said, I met so many cool people through the Morelia community. And I think some of the best people I've met are from the Morelia community, because with the Bloods and Short Tails, it's more online for me. There's not as many on the East Coast. I've met so many people that are, East Coast people going to Carpet Fest that are from here, that's who I hang with. I hang more with Morelia people than I do with anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. Morelia is a great community for sure. And there is like crossover where you get Morelia guys that keep, short tails and things like that. And that's always cool.
Yeah, look, they definitely keep a little bit of everything. And like I said, there's just a lot of good people. If you look around, for anyone that's really down on the hobby, and everybody can be sometimes, there's a lot of good people if you just look that you'll connect with on some level.
Yeah. Who are some of your like mentors coming up in short tail pythons?
Well, I've been bringing them up. Mike Estakos was one. Mike, I met at a Hamburg PA show. He's who I bought my first really nice marble from. And, he would just talk to me and I would talk to him. And little by little, he would see me keep coming back and we connected that way. Like, and I still see Mike to today. I consider Mike like family. Like he's one person who, of course, we dive into snakes, but we talk about everything else. And it sucks because I'm not going to shows as much, so I don't see Mike as much anymore. And the other is Keith McPeak. I mean, same thing. And funny thing is, I was intimidated by both of them. And different reasons. I mean, for one, I was younger. Two, I feel like I know nothing. I'm coming up to these guys' tables, Yeah. So with Mike, I'll go to Mike first. And Mike still to this day, Mike is a reptile. He's an animal nut. He's crazy, but he's a very big dose of reality in a good way. He'll be so blunt. And sometimes it's like, you can't overthink it. It's this, like, we're just doing this and it's not that big of a deal. And, he's a dose of reality. He could be like pretty cynical, but one of the nicest guys ever. And then Keith, to me, looked more intimidating, but Keith was more like a teddy bear once you get to know him. Like he was so like nice. But I mean, Keith isn't that way. If Keith doesn't like you, which is rare, I think he could be like a bulldog. But if Keith likes you, you get this whole other like soft-spoken, really nice guy. Seems way more humble. I mean, he's never like braggy, but like a guy that you find out accomplished so much, it seems so freaking humble. But yeah, I would go up to Keith. I met Keith at and both I embarrassed myself in front of too. So with Mike, I think the first marble Borneo I bought was like $275 I think it was $350. And I was very new. So my buddy Dennis was like, oh, at a reptile show, you can haggle a little bit, So I already said, I'll take it because I wanted it. And I was like, can I give you 300 for it? He's like, you've already said you'll take it. And then I felt like shit. I was like, oh my God, I felt bad. And then I came up to the next show and told him I felt like shit. And I bought another snake, not just because I felt bad, because I wanted it. And he just looked past it. He goes, yeah, man, I get it, whatever. And then Keith McPeak, I felt even dumber with. This was at a Mars show, which is used to be a cool Maryland show. And I was like looking at his table over and over again, just keep coming back. And I think I had a hypa, a salmon, or not a hypa boa, a salmon boa, which was nothing special. But I think it had a good price on there. And I saw something in my price range. I don't know what it was. And I asked Keith, I'm like, you want to trade for this? With no boas on the table. And Keith's like, no. And I'm like, okay. And I scattered away and I was like, I knew that was going to be a no. Like, why did I even take that chance? And sure enough, I didn't think I bought something from Keith the next time we talked, and it was a good talk, and then I felt comfortable. And Keith had so many things I wanted, but it was a little out of my price range. And then I eventually started buying so much stuff from Keith too. So It was definitely those two like I said, I consider them both family. Those were definitely my mentors in short tails. And then someone who's not a mentor, but he is, because he knows so much, Dennis McNamara. He's another dude who's super cool, who right away was friendly off the bat. And I don't know if Dennis can make anyone feel he's just such a nice guy, make anyone feel bad about anything or feel I would love to see a mean side in Dennis just to see if he has one. I'm sure he does. He's a big dude. I'm sure he could do some damage, but Dennis is just the nicest guy. And also I feel like he has the best intentions because I think he understands not everybody's good, but when he hears something, he's like, oh, I didn't know that. He's like, I didn't know that about him. I have to check that out.
Yeah, he is. He thinks the best of everybody, and he's just such a nice guy. And yeah, he was my my emotional support Dennis at Daytona. I kept going back to his table because he's just so chill and and he wanted to introduce me to everybody. He's like, have you met Dave Levinson yet? Have you met Keith yet? I'll introduce you.
He's awesome for that because Dennis, all three of those guys I just named, Mike is the one that flies the most under the radar, but Mike has accomplished so much too. You got Keith who's done so much. And then, Mike Estacos, he's done so much stuff. It's crazy. And then Dennis too. It's all three of those guys and they've all known so many people, but Dennis really I think he knows everybody. Everybody knows him. And he's quick to be like, oh, have you met this person? And he does it so naturally. To the point where I think the person knows, and not that I ever did, oh, introduce me to this dude, where you want to say hi, because it's weird. There's a lot of times you get in a reptile conversation and you'll know the person or the person will know you and you're just standing there. And it's how do you introduce so someone doesn't feel weird? You know what I mean? So You're sitting in this circle of people and you're two people look at each other, they know each other, but they don't want to say anything. It could be weird after a while. I think I'm getting over to the point where I will say something or ask, say hey, my name's Matt. I know, you did this, that, and the other thing. Where it used to be not a pride thing or an ego thing. You just feel weird doing that.
Yeah. So. Two people I didn't introduce myself to, and I wish I would have, was Casey and Craig.
Craig Trombauer?
Yeah. I saw both of them at Daytona, and I was like, I'm too stupid. I'll stay away.
I don't know them. I only know them from the online stuff, and Keith and his wife Teresa love them. And they hang with them, and they're you got to meet them. They're great people, and I would love to meet them. I just haven't had the opportunity. But yeah, I've seen all the stuff that Craig does, and that's amazing. I know Dennis, I think, thinks the world of Craig too. So it's dude. And like I said, it's crazy because I'm linked to those three guys pretty tight. And then obviously later on, I met Eric and Owen, and those are great guys. And then through them, I think I introduced them to a few people, and then they introduced me to I think even more people. Like I said, I think through them. They met Keith through me and were oh, damn, Keith's a great guy. And then through them, I met Jason Balin, just a bunch of people like that. And there's all these cool ass people I met through Morelia. So, Mike Curtin, Jason Balin, Eric Kohler, there's all the list can go on. I can just name a bunch. And Nick, I've met through Carpet Fest through that, from that, Ryan Young, somewhat, it's just all these people. So.
Yeah, it's funny. Nick has to be the person that I think people are the most afraid to reach out to. But he will talk to you
Yeah.
if you reach out to him.
I think he'll talk to you for hours, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't know if Nick has to like you. He just wants to make sure you get the information. Like he cares about the animal. So I don't know if he has to like you. You're going to hear what he has to say. He wants you to get off the phone with the correct information. I've never talked to Nick on the phone. I've talked to him in person, but I never talked to him on the phone. But that's how, like, he's old school. That's how old school people like to do. I used to talk to, I don't know if you ever heard of Harlan Wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harlan. You can't just have a brief conversation with Harlan. You could throw him an email or however I used to do it. I don't know if it was an email or I'd message Harlan. Be like, oh, shoot me a call. I'm like, oh boy. And I would love talking to Harlan. There was nothing against him. Everything was interesting. But he'd be like, I won't keep you long. And I'm like 2.5 hours later, I'm outside still talking to him. I'm like, Harlan, dude, this is great, but I got to go. I'm getting yelled at. I think my kid has to go to bed.
Yes, I've done exactly that. I think I messaged him and he was like, here's my number. Give me a call.
Yeah. If there is an old school guy and he wants to talk, I think you're hooked for and most of the time you definitely want to be. I mean, you want to talk to those people. There's just certain things where you just got to make sure your schedule's open. You can't, I would dumbly be like, okay, we'll keep this a half hour. Never would be a half hour. No such thing. So
my biggest regret was Nick Bottini shot me a message with his phone number and I think he said, give me a call. I wish I could remember exactly how it went. And I think I was like, in the middle of something, kid, I know I was at home and I know I was with the kids and everything. And I never talked to him on the phone and I wish I would have been able to do that.
Yeah. Connect with him some. Yeah. It sucked, man. Nick used to, when he lived in New York, we talked a lot more when we were younger and coming up and we always had a friendly relationship, me and Nick, but like when he moved and got older, over there more, we just lost contact. And, we both could have just called and talked. We would shoot each other messages here and there. But yeah, I mean, like, it sucks for me being a blood short tail guy and how everything turned out is just terrible that, I feel like I could have connected with Nick so much more, like it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I had gotten him scheduled and then there was a certain someone that got bit by a taipan and he was, working with legislation and, said that it was taking up a lot of his time and we were going to reschedule. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, damn, I wish I would have called him right when he messaged me so we could have talked.
Yeah, it's so crazy. That's all like so surreal what happened. And like I said, just out of nowhere, and obviously he had a family, so it sucks for obviously all those reasons. But then just being greedy, the things he could have accomplished or would have accomplished. You know what I mean? Just seeing his progression and how far along he bought stuff. It sucks.
Yeah, he had a lot of incredible animals and, beautiful family. And that the family part just makes it so much more.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst of it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, man, it sucks. And it's like Nick, there's so much information we can get out of everybody else, but like Nick really didn't do too much, I guess because he was just keeping back and just hanging out by himself. That he could have been on podcasts and probably provided so much more, you know what I mean? So, I mean, this stuff sucks for me to do. I still get nervous doing these podcasts. I'm going to go to bed and I go, what the hell did I say? And who's going to watch this back? Like, this guy sucks. Like, you know what I mean? Because I just tried now to go on and talk. And I know sometimes it comes off like, what did he say? But I'm just trying to have a conversation. This is how I would talk to you, anybody in real life about this stuff. And I do know stuff and I can provide help. If it doesn't sound like I do, please believe me. Shoot me an email. I will get you through it if this didn't help.
It may not sound like it, but I do know things.
I've been doing this since 2003. I got some. I can do some stuff.
Oh man! So, dude, the price of feeders. I can't imagine your feeder bill.
It's if I feed the full collection, it's ridiculous. But I get lucky with feeders. So I have someone who's awesome. Her name's Sophia. SOS Rodents. She delivers right to my house and has been since probably 2005.
Wow.
She has buildings and she's from PA. She delivers to the Philadelphia Zoo, different pet stores. And she comes right to my house. And her feeder prices are great. They're cheaper than all the frozen prices. And I don't pay shipping. So I do get a break in that way. And not only that, like, there are people, I don't know if that still happens. I'm sure it does with all the ball python stuff. There are times of the summer where people can't get a medium rat. I'm so hot. She goes through the same thing, but I'm so high up on the list that I don't ever get denied a medium rat or anything like that. So
baller.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
What a flex.
You know what? I don't flex a lot. That is a flex. I buy more feeders than the Philadelphia Zoo and always have. So that's a flex.
That's wild.
I said, man, I was all excited. I was like, dude, how crazy does the Philadelphia Zoo get? She goes, you get more than the Philadelphia Zoo. I was like, oh, okay. That's crazy. So I don't know about now, but there was points of my life where I was buying way more than the Philadelphia Zoo. Now I still buy a lot of feeders. I don't know if I outdo the zoo now because I kind of switched my feeding regimen up and I can't afford to feed like I used to. But so it that in that way, but it's still crazy. I mean, there are times things aren't like when I first moved here, I was trying to make this work, which obviously it's working, but I went through some tough times. And generally those tough times would come when I needed to feed real bad, but they got to eat. So I'd push things through and figure out that money later on. But it's tough to feed a big collection, especially when and breeding them obviously saves you money, but I don't think it saves your sanity. I know so many people that are like, I'm going to breed because it saves money and they get all the equipment, they do all this stuff, and then they're done in a month or two because it's just crazy. And I never even attempted it. I thought about it sometimes and I'm like, there's just no way. It won't be enjoyable if I have to breed my own rodents.
Yeah, I thought about that and quickly changed course, because it's like, where am I going to put them? The smell. I've done it before. I've bred rats before, and I hated it. I hated the smell. I hated cleaning the cages. I hated everything about it. People knew I had rats in the house as soon as they came in the house.
Yeah, you can't hide that smell. That sucks.
You can't hide that.
Yeah,
you cannot hide that.
That's the only thing I did think about doing, and that was even like, I couldn't wrap my head around that. Just do a little bit of breeding for certain things to take a little bit of weight off of stuff. But I was just like, I see it fizzling out. Like, I'm going to do all this. It's going to go a couple of weeks, and I'm not going to want to do it. Or, worst comes to worst, then that's something you slack on, and you really screw up, and everything will eat each other, and just that's a terrible thing to do. I mean, they're still animals; they're your feeders, so you can't just.
You
abandon that whole thing. That's a terrible thing to do.
Yeah. It's got to be humane and ethical, and it's a giant. And you got to their temperatures too. I mean, they can overheat. I was talking with Stephen Cush about that, and he's like, they can overheat and die so easily. So, and then you lose all your breeding stock.
Yeah. So the part of me getting feeders, she will do frozen, but she doesn't primarily do frozen. So I get live deliveries. So I've been getting live deliveries since 2005. Frozen is pretty foreign to me. Like, I will take some stuff that is left over if I ordered too much or I see something's not going to eat at all, so I don't even attempt it. And then I will freeze it. So I have certain things, whatever. But so in the summertime, everything's in my garage. That's next to my reptile room. I usually do just bring them in and feed. But in the winter, I can get away with like feeding later on that day, or especially the fall or the spring, it's not that hot. I can get away with feeding the next day. If it's summertime, you have to feed right away. Like if I go upstairs and cook breakfast and it's like a hot August day, all the rats are wet. And if it's like, if the rats go into one corner and something gets trapped under there, there's like one that's freshly dead. Like they overheat so fast.
Yeah. They run hot too. I mean,
they run really hot.
Yeah, I remember that. They're just very warm-bodied animals. But it's not worth it. I'll pay. I recently tried out Perfect Prey, and I was really, really happy with them. Very clean. I've fed some of their feeders to some of my snakes, and everybody's healthy, so that's a good thing. Perfect Prey, I think, has been pretty high. I think Alexa Shamshoyan recommended them. That's another. She's a sleeper with the animals she has, dude. Her animals are wild.
She has a couple of my favorite blood pythons.
Dude,
Like
nobody
her,
has anything like her. Like, I'll
yeah,
see pictures of her animals and I'm like, that is nuts. Like,
yeah.
how do you get lighter, like light colors that light and then dark reds that dark? It is crazy.
And that just goes to show you, because if I'm not mistaken, because I listened to that episode, but she don't keep too many. She doesn't keep like a huge collection.
No, she doesn't have she doesn't have a ton of animals, but the
But she still
animals
has
she
the top.
has
Like,
are,
and that's the thing about short tails and bloods, especially when I try to pump people up about Borneos a little bit, if they're like on the, like you said, like what makes them, well, what makes them like kind of an outlier, but what makes them cool, especially if you want to breed. I won't say like the money, or you're going to fly out of your racks and you're going to, you're not going to do any of that. But if you're going because you want to make cool animals, you want cool looks. If you're dealing with anything with genetics, if you're dealing with ocelots, stripes, ghost, ultras, and you're putting any of them together pretty much, you have the chance that year to make the most unbelievable clutch, unbelievable animal. Like it's just, it only takes one pair to have something that everybody needs or is drooling over. Like that's kind of how, because they're so variable and the looks just never seem to stop. And there's also so many things that haven't been like mixed together. And with the exception of marble and granite, all the other stuff mixes together very well. And I think with marble and granite, it's just going to take a couple generations of sticking with it. And then maybe we'll see some, which even myself have just never done. Like I've done some marble stripes. They look cool, but once you involve marble to ghost, it kind of drowns it out. Seems like Granite Ultra was a good look. Like they had a good thing, which I'm sure Marble Ultra would probably do the same thing. But it just seems like something that people don't continue with the right way or continue at all. They kind of go, oh, I can go another way. And I'm just as guilty of that, which I'm going to be done with that because I did I did this really nice oscillate to a extreme marble. And it's like the first time in my breeding that I bred anything oscillate, even if it's like slightly just no other kind of reduced pattern gene, where everything came out just genetic striped or genetic striped, slightly very low expression marble. Like no oscillates came out, no full on marbles came out. So I'm hoping when I take them back to each other, something crazy happens, or if I take them to something crazy marble, that maybe I see some crazy looks. We'll see. So, but yeah. So when it comes to Borneos, I also think they look cool. There's a lot of different looks. I mean, it just seems like when you get into short tails, you got Borneos, you got red, you got the black stuff. And it just seems like Borneos are the earth tone stuff. So like you gotta love, and it seems like a lot of people love fall. And that would be the fall colored snake. They got orange, they got brown, they got yellow, but it just seems like people go for the red and yellow and bloods, or they fall in love with that dark black snake with the orange eyes. It just seems like Borneos kind of get left in the dust.
Yeah. It's too bad because they are incredible looking. Even the normals, like, and honestly, if I were to get Borneos, I think I would want normals, just because the morph thing and the way that my brain works, it is a slippery slope where I'm just like, oh, if I get that one, I'm gonna want that one, and then I want that one, and like, yeah, it's hard. But the normals, are beautiful animals.
The normals are gorgeous, and the thing that sucks for the normals is like if anyone to try to focus on normals, or when you have normals out, it's like a good captive bred normal should be at least $150, but you see them for $100 to $200. But then it could just be somebody wanting the name, or it's hard to beat. Like as soon as it gets a little bit of genetic stripe, or it's an ultra, even if it's a low expression ultra, those animals are $150 to $200 sometimes. And it can just add so much more color. But I mean, when you are dealing with Borneos, besides the albinos, which still fall into the line of colors, genetic stripes, super stripes, marbles, they all have the same colors as a normal Borneo. They're not that far off, besides a stripe being on the back and then patterns getting cleaned up. I mean, you take a lot of genetic stripes, they look like normals. I mean, sucks for you because you're not a stripe guy, so I can see why you want normals.
I am not a stripe
You're
guy.
not a stripe, but I get that. And it's like, it's weird because when it comes to Borneos, almost everything is striped because every line either had stripe put in it or some of them just naturally get striped. Normals are your way of not getting striped. Marbles are your way of not getting striped because they're kind of dotted, slashed up, a little bit banded, and that's what I mean. But when you go to reds and you think, so a red blood is, of course, going to be unbelievable. It's a red and yellow snake with some black highlights on it. Then when you dive into the mutations, you got ivories, which are like an off-white, and you got golden eyes, which come out, creamy colored, and they got a little bit of red in them or no red, and you got all that stuff. But when you go to Borneos, the normal, if you want a normal, you do got genetic stripes and marbles, which kind of go along hand in hand with it. Even some ultras don't have the craziest look. They can be low expression, some lattes. But yeah, normals are awesome. But like I said, people never really, like I said, if you do hatch normals, they just get left by the wayside because you could just buy something else. And whether it's because you want a stripe or something with some more potential, or like I said, some people will just look at the name and go, why would I want a normal when I can have an ultra or a latte or a genetic stripe or a marble?
Yeah, yeah.
So
which one is the most expensive right now?
I guess probably what I'm doing, the extreme marbles. I bought them way down in price because with the economy being the way it was and just sort of low interest in Borneos, and I've been hatching them for a while. As you hatch stuff, whenever anything's somewhat expensive, I did the same thing with ocelots. I kind of controlled what ocelots did because I made them. Just gradually bring them down. I mean, that's kind of usually how it goes. Like I know I said the thing about genetic stripes and stripes. They just do so well and you don't make so many that price range kind of sits there and doesn't move. But when it comes to this stuff, they have a little bit more of a mutation look because of reduced pattern and the color changes, that their price just naturally comes down. So I would say extreme marbles, because I guess if I sold like a top-notch extreme marble, it would still be for about $2,000, $2,500.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything above that, really. I mean, there's some cool side swipe stuff out there. That's not even close to that price. Genetic stripe, super stripe, oslet, ghost. The albinos are really rock bottomed. They never really got kicked off. I mean, they're like $300-$400.
Why?
If that. I'll be honest. Steven Tillis is doing some cool stuff with albinos. He's probably the furthest along with albino Borneos, but just nobody really worked on them. And I mean, if you've seen a caramel albino Sumatran, I said the albinos don't really take too much of a dip of what Borneo colors are because it kind of becomes a different color, different variations of light brown. I mean, they definitely, when they're younger, have some hues of pinks and a little bit of purples in them. But I do think as they get older, they kind of turn more into like a khaki colored snake with different highlights on them. And there's still a lot to do with them. I'm not saying they're bad looking. They're just, it's a T positive for a snake that's primarily just going to give you a lot of brown looks. You know what I mean? So I dig them. But I have a pair of hets. I wanted to go the long way and make my own. So I have a pair of hets that I could possibly get up to size next season and probably try to make some.
Yeah, let me, I'm going to bring up a picture here. Bear with me.
I do think the stuff that Steve had, and he was trying to market it for high, was good. And I don't think it was his fault. But you go to a reptile show and I saw people, I don't know how they even got them because they weren't Borneo people. People were wholesaling them and they were like $200. And not for babies. There was a couple on a table. He had like 10 of them. And he was selling males for $2 and females for $250. And they were eating like medium rats.
Look at that thing, dude.
I don't see anything yet.
Oh, you can't see it?
Nah, I can't say anything.
Oh, man. It's probably because you're on your phone. Damn it.
Yeah, I am on a phone. I'm not on a desktop.
That really sucks because I wanted to show you this too, which is Roy Stewart's.
That's a match. I'll definitely check it out. Is it on the blood group?
I will. Well, I'll text these to you. I'll message them to you because I screenshotted it off of Roy Stewart's Instagram page, and holy smokes! I mean, yeah, it looks like urban camo, that Sumatran, dude. It's just really pale gray and then black pattern, and holy cow, yeah, that is bananas. I wish you could see it.
Yeah, I will tonight, but I wish I could see it now. Yeah, that's true.
It's I hope that, they kind of, more people kind of, I don't know, maybe you need to start breeding for some temperament and get some pet people on board, Well,
that would be a plan. And I do want to start working on, so I do want like a Borneo that I could, because like I said, when people come over that just kind of want to see a snake, I let them check out Sanzinia. I let them see a rough scale python, but they wanted they're definitely interested in a big giant, adult male. And I do want to be able to. There's like two that I can bring out, but I mean, if you mishandle it, they won't freak out, but it won't be pleasant. You know what I mean? Like they might go to the bathroom or just jump the wrong way, and it's like not something you can hand to somebody. So I do want to start maybe taking the time to tame a couple, see if I still got it in me to do it. You know what I mean? Maybe I bring some along. My problem is I don't have any Borneos that are that crazy, but I mean, then I ship them and then people are like, this one's nuts. And I'm like, once they go through shipping, it can be
Yeah.
crazy, or I'm just used to it, like whatever it is, whatever that is, whatever that says. But
the female I got from Kara, I did like a swab of almost everything in my quarantine rack to give to Steve at the Daytona show, and she still hasn't forgiven me for that. Like she doesn't bite, but when I touch her, she's just and blows the air, and she's like, she just doesn't appreciate me very much anymore.
They can remember for a while.
Dude, like her memory is insane. I swear it's ever since then. And I'll sit down with her like on the couch and like I'll move the wrong way and she'll huff so loud, and my wife will like look at me and be like, what is going on? I'm like, she doesn't strike at me, which is good, but she just ever since then, man, ever since I restrained her and swabbed her, she just she's kind of on edge. She doesn't appreciate me very much.
Yeah, they're not rocket science. They're not the hardest, but they are very unforgiving of a lot of stuff. So but you can get them back. Sometimes, not all the time, but you can definitely get them back. And you're someone that's going to work positively towards that. But I've had some that just were pretty decent, and I don't know what happened. Like it's back when I had these. I had an ARS rack that was they had the clear insert windows. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it's a weird plastic. I've called it like a wrestling ring. Like if they bopped around in there, it was so loud. I remember the one time I walked by and it was just like boom, 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 just freaking out. And it was one that was decent. I could just go in and scoop up. And for whatever reason, me walking by got this thing freaked out. And it was already like an adult and never got it back from just always being like twitchy. Like you go in and touch it, it just whips coils. And if you open it the wrong way, it would spin around. Like I just never was able to gain that animal's trust back.
Wow.
Yeah, it's strange.
And that animal is a outcross to, I think it was one of the animals Kara got from you, a PE stripe.
Yeah, which I don't know how she got that thing good because they were not nice. They're really nice looking, but not nice at all.
Damn you, Matt.
Well, it came from the Pro Exotic stripe line. I got my original Pro Exotic stripe off a really good friend, Chris Kopecki, who's not in it no more, but he's still a friend. And I saw the thing in person. I knew it was mean. I actually got him pretty good, but whatever his offspring were just not nice. They just were dicks.
And you sold one of those to Kara?
No, I actually sold one to Dan Magano. No, not Dan Magano. Ryan Rumbley. Ryan Rumbley got that animal. And Ryan Rumbley was getting out or doing, I forget what he might be going back to the military. So he sent that to Kara. And then I should never even have sold that damn animal. That animal was awesome looking. It was cool when I sold it. And then as soon as I sold it, I was like, it already looked instantly better. And then it grew some. And I'm like, what the hell am I selling shit like that for? Like, that's crazy. But I mean, in all fairness, Kara actually gave me a chance to get it back. And I was like, you know what? I've got some of its siblings here. They're just not nearly as good looking as it. So I'll let you keep on working with it, or you might find a place that if you don't need it anymore, you're going to plug it in somewhere probably really good. So.
And she did.
Yeah.
And she, I told her, I was like, I like interacting with my animals. And when I do, I want it to be, chill and enjoyable. And she made sure to send me animals that were, temperament was number one priority.
Yeah. And she's great at that. So I just brought up Dan Magano, he was good for that. He focused on that. He focused on it so much that if you gave him an animal that wasn't good, he would freaking send it right away. There was a guy, Matt, that was in it, not another Matt, and I think he said I'm a really nice animal, and Dan right away was like, it was a gorgeous animal, but it wasn't nice, and I think he wanted to give it back to Matt, like, this ain't whatever. He would always, Dan would always mess with me, like, he's freaking awesome. They don't bite all the time, but they move too much for me, and I'm like, well, what the hell, man? They don't bite. He's like, I'm working on this kind of temperament, and my hat's off to people that can do that, man. I look at a snake and I want to make a certain thing or look at it. If it's good, cool. If it's not, okay. I don't want it to be crazy as hell, but I mean, I don't care if it tries to take a shot at me or something. Like I said, I'm not holding it for thrills. I like monitoring them, and it's kind of cool when they are a little bit dickish, that they still flatten out and they get in that ambush looking thing. I mean, you don't want to stress them out, so you can't veer at them too long. But I like when they're, when they look wild.
Yeah. I don't like that.
I do. I do. None's cooler when you got babies, because they just flatten out like paper and they look so wide. They make themselves so big, and that little fork tongue just sits there and goes like this, and you can see the guy.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about the babies. You're just going to be crazy. And you see that little eye twitch. They're so cool. And every once in a while, you can get sub-adults and stuff that they won't flatten out that much, but when they're on edge a little bit, man, they'll flatten out some.
Yeah, that's that. It's down. You know that your snake is going to eat, or your short tail is going to eat, when they do that. Just the tip of their tongue out.
Yeah.
And it's just sitting there, and it's like, all right, you're going to take this mouse, no problem. But yeah, and the phone too. I think you messaged me about that, because one of my stories, I had the phone up and just the tip of the tongue was out.
Yeah.
And I noticed that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that now, that like the phone, like you get a phone right up in their face, and I don't know if it's the heat or what it is.
They don't Python, anything that gets sense heat hates the phone in its face. They don't like it. It will just trigger them. It's not a good thing.
Yeah. Keep your phones out of your short tail's face.
It's a good thing. It can be a good thing if you're trying to get good photos. And there's like that will get them still into a good pose. As long as you catch it before they strike and flip around and do something stupid. Because then they're trying to turn around and run. So if you do have the really tense ones that hate the phone, you'll get a real good picture, but you got to get it quick. Because once it does the strike or tenses out, then you're done, because then it's just trying to turn around, or it pees all over your light tent. So it's one or the other.
I feel like that may have happened to you
a lot. Yeah. When I do things with the light box now, I have the cleaning stuff go right there, because I'm trying to do a whole bunch of pictures, and I know one of them's going to pop in there, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah. I don't think how, like the whole missexing thing. I feel like Alexa, she must have the most animals that she got, and like they're all like it was supposed to be. Yeah, it was supposed to be a male and it's a female, or no, it was supposed to be a female and it's a male. And yeah, it's wild. How, like, have you run into that yourself, where you've had missexed animals?
So I've only missexed one of my holdbacks, which I do a lot of holdbacks one time. Only once for me. I've never had anybody come and say that I missexed their animal. I'm 100% I've had to. They're just really difficult. And I pay a lot of attention. When I was starting to do it, starting to like realize I'm getting clutches every year, I would always ask to assist, always ask to see pictures, search pictures up. So what I think I do is, there's two ways of doing it. A lot of people like to do it right out of the egg because they got no control, which is true. But what I would find out is right out of the egg, even a couple days out of the egg, all the hemipenal homologs, their color's not all there yet. So it's slightly different colors, but it's all lighter. When you give it a couple weeks, I liked a little bit of fight, and it gets a lot more color to it. So I get Eric every year to help me. I've gotten other people to help me, but Eric is like a staple of helping me sex my animals every year. Nice. I get him over so I do it. I treat it like it's like venomous almost. It sucks because they're new. So you take them by the head. I tell Eric, hold it by the head, just take it, because I want to be able to sit there and work with it and get it fully everted. So I fully evert them. Males will just spill right out. Males go like this. So they're usually bigger, like thicker, bigger, darker, and they just spill out like that when you do it. Females tend to like roll, and they seem to like go more like a fork prong or a field goal post, straight up or even inward sometimes. And they're lighter, sometimes a little bit shorter, definitely skinnier. But every once in a while, you got these ones that are like, has all the pointiness and standing straight up like a female, but they're fat, dark tubes. And you're like, well, what the hell's that? Or it doesn't roll and spill out, but it look like a female because it's smaller and pinker, but they're pointing this, like every once in a while, you call them in-betweeners. So with in-betweeners, I put them away and I try to do it 2 to 3 more times to make my best judgment call. And they're always the ones I'm most nervous about. Now, if it's a male, if I think it's a male, I'm not as nervous because I'm like, okay, I'm selling it as a male. Worst comes to worst, someone gets a female. Now, I don't want to missex anything because if you want a certain male, you want a male. The worst is if it's an in-betweener and I think it's a female, that'll suck if it's a male. Then I'm going to have some owing to do or, make up somewhere. But like I said, I've never gotten a message, a call. I've been selling them since 2005. I've made clutches every year and I've never got someone that says, hey, this isn't the right sex. And I've had people be able to breed mine because they show me pictures. So I've gotten lucky. I had one person who was like a friend. He's not in it anymore. I sold him a proven breeder female that I produced. And I produced this girl. I got eggs from this girl. He was primarily a ball python guy. He was getting into bloods and short tails. When he got it home and he got all pissed off, mind you, this is like a 4-foot girl that's like probably 18 pounds. And he's like, dude, this is a male. Look at this thing. So he takes a picture because it's all pissed off and it's shot out and it's super dark burgundy and, just really big. So it's for any ball python guy, it would be the biggest male ever. And I'm like, dude, it's a female. And I showed him pictures on the eggs. He goes, I don't know, dude. I'm just like, I don't know if it's the same animal. Like, I ripped this guy off and he's my friend. Sure enough, he breeds it and he got eggs. He goes, dude, I feel like the biggest dick in the world. He goes, how was that a female? And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's just crazy. They got really big hemipenal homologs. It can be very confusing.
Dude, that's so funny that you sent him pictures on the eggs and he's still like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. You got a lot of stripes. I think he said, I don't know, dude. You got a lot of stripes. I was like, yeah, because it was a genetic stripe female. I can remember an early episode of the BLBC podcast, which was like the first one podcast. And the one guy, they were both ball python guys, but the one guy bred a Borneo. And he's like, dude, it was crazy. I think it was like a 32 or 35 egg clutch. And he's like, so I'm going at it and I'm sexing them. And I'm like, 35 males. How's that possible? And then he called his friend who does short tails. He's like, you don't have 35 males, man. He's like, he's like, no, every single one of these got hemipenes, man. They all shot right out. And he's like, that's not males. They're not all males.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So like to an untrained person or someone who's heavily involved in ball pythons, if they took no information, I mean, it is crazy. We're so far along in the hobby that there is that. People with like 35 males or they're like, dude, I hatched these bloods and I'm waiting to freaking feed them, but they haven't shed. It's been 2 weeks. And it's like, they're not going to shed for you, bud. So that's how far along we came in breeding, that people are having so much success that they don't even realize that the short tail or blood takes a long time to shed.
Man. Yeah, that is so crazy. Missexed short tail pythons.
Watch and look, it happens and you really can't get, it sucks because that's another hard part of the house. Like you really can't get bent out of shape about it. But the person that does it's got to be able to make up for it in some kind of way. I think I got my first missexed one from Keith. I didn't really hold it against him because I knew how hard it was. It's just really tough.
Yeah.
So,
did you haggle with him then? Can you do 300 on this?
I was already friends with Keith at that point. I think he was like ready to throw so much stuff at me. I was like, Keith, it's an awesome male anyway, dude. I don't care. But like, he's like, no, I gotta do something. And I think he did. I think next year he gave me something that was like, he held on to it for me. He's like, dude, here you go. He's like, I want you to have this anyway, but you deserve it. Like something crazy like that. But I mean, Dave and Tracy Barker, or Tracy probably, because I don't know if Dave's over here sexing them. But people got missexed up from VPI, and it's not because they're negligent or nothing like that. It's not because they're sloppy. It just happens. Like I said, I guarantee you, I missexed something whether it just didn't make it up to size or the person had swapped hands before. I did have a problem one time where it changed hands like 3 times. So people were getting to me, and it was supposed to be a female, and it was a male. And I went back and like put my photo bucket thing and found this animal, and found out it was a male. So someone just changed it to a female, I guess, to make it more appealing to sell to. And I sent it to the person, like, okay, well, that explains it. It wasn't your fault. But I was like, yeah, it could have been my fault. You know what I mean? These things are really tough to sex.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, that's going to be, if I reproduce bloods, like, man, that'll be a steep learning curve.
It's very hard when you don't have stuff to bounce it off of or someone to help you with it. It can be really tough. Not only that, it's just like tough just to see. But I mean, have you even ever like cloacal popped anything? So I mean, that's a learning curve, and you're going to need someone to hold the heads because bloods and short tails are short and they're going to bobble around. They're not only going to bite you; they can hurt themselves. So you kind of need someone to handle the other side of the body to be safe.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but I mean, if you have anybody that's in the reptiles, I can't imagine they wouldn't want to do it. It's so interesting. Like I've had people ask me to help sex something, and I like if I can make it, I can't wait to go over just to get the experience of any species of animal. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's what I should do. Like, try to find some local ball python breeders or something, somebody to connect with, and, you know, see if I can get that experience. That would
yeah, definitely.
probably,
Just to get them popping and see what's down there. And then the other easy thing to do, which kind of sucks, like bringing your whole clutch to a show because you're bringing it to a show to expose it to stuff, is like if you ever had trouble. Like I knew someone who would bring their whole clutch to a show to try to get people to sex them. Now I wasn't doing that because I was at the show, and I was like, listen, I would love to help you, but I'm not going to sit here and pop all your snakes and go back to my table. You know what
yeah,
I mean? I
yeah.
have all my animals here. I'm not taking that risk. And they understood. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing if you could meet up with that person and then, get sterile, well, as close as, just get clean after the process and everything. But yeah, having to do it in like a public space, that's kind of difficult.
yeah. And if you want to ask Eric about it, when you're doing a whole, like, so when he comes over, we're doing all of them. Like, there's some of them that are like 1 month born, some of them are a couple months because I wait till now I have all of them because I don't want to keep calling them over. So when we do it, it's a round of between 50 to 90 of them.
Oh my
So
God,
I
dude.
always tell them to bring a change of clothes because you know you're going to get soaked from snake pee because they burst. If they don't burst when you're done, they just leak all out. Generally, it's like it's rare if the way because like I said, I already got meals in them, so it's rare that when you do it with me, you're not getting. It's like being at a water park. You're standing by the log flume. You're getting wet one way or another.
Yeah. Why do we call them hemipene homologs and not hemiclitoral homologs?
That's a much better question probably for someone like Steve or
Yeah.
Kara probably knows.
I did ask him. I'm like, that's what that is, right? And he's like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. And you know what? You say hemipenal homologs to a lot of other people, like other species. I think that's pretty foreign to use for them because that's just something that's really talked about a lot in blood pythons and short tails.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's,
so the other thing that's interesting is so I've done plenty of ball pythons, but now when I do a ball python, I'm so used to doing short tails and not saying I hurt them, but I really avert them so I can see everything, make sure they're all the way out. I can get a female ball python normally to shoot out little hemipenal homologs, like little nubs, to the point where I've done that in front of a ball python person, like, oh shit, is that a male? And I'm like, nah, it's not a male. It's definitely a female. It's just that I do it so I get them to avert so much that they're shooting out. Like I can get
is
little
there,
bumps.
is there any danger? I mean, that's why I need like somebody to mentor me with that because I don't want to injure the animal. Like, that's my biggest fear.
Well, yeah. So I feel like when people watch it and then they first start doing it, they tend to crank them back like this, where it's kind of a, with me, you take the top of the cloacal and I just slightly pull back and then you kind of roll your thumb up the tail and then I pinch a little bit. That's kind of what it is. But I feel like most people's thing, they look like they're breaking them at first because they're like bending them in half.
Ooh.
I don't think when you're doing ball pythons, you got a lot to work with there, a little bit more. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody like hurt one or looked hurt or like anything stayed out. But yeah, there is a rougher way of doing it. It looks like it's pretty bad. But
Hmm.
yeah, you definitely need experience. I wouldn't just like look and go. I mean, I would see one live before just like YouTubing one. And I mean, you could definitely do it, but you're probably going to be too gentle in the beginning. And like, I mean, back in the day, ball python guys, there would be dudes that can grab adults and not even do one hand and go like this up the tail, and they would just shoot out. Like that's how many
Wow.
they would do, or how like good they were at it.
Do you ever probe?
I probe other species. I don't really probe blood and short tails. I've tried, and like I said, so when you're going, generally like a male will go, and most species will go much deeper scales, like 7 to more scales, and a female is like 2 to 4 scales. Well, if they got big hemipenal homologs, which they do, the probes both just fall through the tail. So it's like they all go and their tails are so little with all those little scales, it's just so hard to tell. It's just, when they're older, I heard it's easier to probe them and there's a better way. By the time they're older, I'm looking for behavior to see the difference and if they're males or females, which is not always like a thing, but sometimes you can tell. If I really am iffy, like I got it and I don't know the sex, that's what I'm looking for. So.
Damn. Are you sure you're, so that just made me think your Sri Lankans, are they, have they like slugged out? Have you gotten eggs?
Oh no, I've gotten eggs and I've hatched eggs. So the first year I did it, I got 4 really big eggs. I got 3 stillborns. 2 were all kinked up and had giant bug eyes.
Damn.
And then I got 1 that really good snake. But then when it came out, it had no kinks. But by the next day, it had bigger bug eyes than the rest of them. Now I've had that before in short tails and ball pythons. So I did the method I do to drain their eyes, but this thing's eyes they wouldn't drain all the way out and they just kept getting big and swollen and it never ate for me. It just had a hell of a time. But structurally, besides that first day, it looked perfect. Like it never had any kinks. I just kept getting them fluid eyes. So when I was talking to Sri Lankan people, they were like, dude, for whatever reason, a lot of times the first clutch is always like shit for some reason. Like, I don't know. I talked to a few people and they're like, dude, they don't hatch or they're stillborns or, So I waited a year. I went back and bred them again. So every time I bred them, I've gotten eggs. So then I bred them again. The female was super late. She was I think she was over, not super late, but she was over 20 something days late. And when she laid them, she laid 5 good eggs, 5 slugs. But when I picked up the eggs, they were the same size, but they were like water. They like felt like a water bed, like they would just like slosh all around. They were so loose. So I incubated them, and within a week and a half, they were all molded and just gone. They just drained out. Wow. They were shit. They were never gonna. They had veins, but they were just, I don't know. They were shit. So this is take 3. So I technically hatched them, but nothing viable. So.
And what's the legality with selling those where you're at? Like you can
only state line. So I can only sell them within the state of Pennsylvania. If they were to go outside of Pennsylvania, they'd have to be given as a gift. So that's kind of how that would go, which is silly. It's just dumb.
It is. It's so random. I mean, that's kind of like the Eastern indigos. I ended up getting Texas indigos just because it's easier,
Well, you're in Florida, nothing makes sense over there to me. I mean, I get where they're coming from, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, at this point in the game, I mean, I just talked to I talked to Stephen Cush about that. I was like, it would be really cool if they would allow you to buy a permit to keep a berm and it was like $1,000 or something. Cause like, I get that berms are they're really affordable for such a monumental like thing that you're taking on, such a huge responsibility, so I can I could understand like trying to make that barrier of entry a little bit higher. So that way you don't have somebody that's saying, oh, cool, $120 Burmese python. Let me snag that. And then, oh shit, this thing's huge. What am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah.
But if they would do that, and it'd be really cool if you could like buy a really expensive permit and get it chipped. And then like, it'd be even cooler if you could go out and catch a baby in the Everglades or something, like that would be epic.
It's just, Florida's the wild place. I mean, you're not out there cashing in all these iguanas, dude. You're not filling up the back of your truck and just cashing in.
What is going on with that? Because I heard about that in the news and I didn't read it. I should probably be more aware, but Yeah, they're allowing collection without a permit right now. And what are they doing with the iguanas?
I guess because I get reptile reels on my Instagram. So when I'm just scrolling through, there's just dudes with armful of iguanas and they got their tailgate down and they just got all these iguanas. And I don't know. I guess they're just taking them in for cash. It's just crazy looking.
Yeah, that's wild. And are they euthanizing them all? I'm assuming
That's what everyone like. It's so crazy that on the sports radio station in Philadelphia they were talking about it today, and they're like, I think they were like looking it up. They're like, oh, there's a place you can go, and they give you money and they euthanize them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So they're trying to wipe out the population. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, they're everywhere out there, man. It's wild. I went to Miami last year, did some herping in the Everglades, and yeah, it's the most bizarre thing. Like you're just at this, drainage canal out off the side of a highway, and there's green iguanas everywhere, and they're diving into the water like alligators and totally disappearing under the water and swimming away. It's wild stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like the coolest thing because like I said, I've been to Florida and I've not much like Orlando and Daytona, and I've never seen an iguana. And everyone's like, "Oh, dude, they're so common." I'm like, "I've never seen one out there yet." So,
yeah, where I'm at, we have the Mexican spiny tails, and we've got agamas everywhere. The agamas
that's kind of cool.
Dude, they're everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, everywhere, and just like. And going really far north too. Like they just really spreading out. I don't know if it's because last winter was a really warm winter. So this year, I don't know if it's going to knock them down a bit, but yeah, if you ever come down this way, I'll show you some agamas and some spiny tails.
I gotta get to South Florida, man. I've never been there. Get there to do some herping and just check out stuff. There's a lot of things I got to do. I just got to get more money and time.
Yeah, I need to do more herping. Honestly, it's kind of like talking to the guys in Australia, and some of them are like, yeah, I got diamond pythons like kind of in my vicinity, but I don't herp for them, and it's like, what? That's crazy. But yeah, I guess when it's your home,
it is nuts because, like I said, every time we do any U.S. herping or herping around here, it's awesome. But I have plenty of opportunities, and I just don't. And then I just constantly talk about Indonesia or Australia. And it's just like, we do have cool stuff here, but I guess it's just like, I can do that any time, which you really can't. You get to a certain age or something gets pushed out, or one year it's really there and the next year it's not. So, but I guess it's just like anything else, it's just whatever your fancy is or what's more exotic. And, you can't find a python here. So
yeah, you can in Florida.
Difference, and I would still go nuts. Like, holy shit, that's a python. Like, you know what I mean? Especially finding a big berm, that's cool as hell.
I know. But that's what I want to see. That's my goal, is to see one for sure.
Yeah, but I
the
feel
hard
like
part would be euthanizing it, though.
Yeah, that's the part. Like, I get it's got to be done, but I don't know if that's the part I'm going to do. Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it, but it's just like that whole part. It's just crazy to me.
Well, it's kind of like knowing how much damage a feral cat can do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to shoot feral cats.
Yeah, that too. But to me, that is more of an issue. And it's like, I don't know if there are people out there take care of that more, like, everything else with the feral pigs and feral cats. It seems like the focus is the pythons, which I get are doing some damage, but not nearly as much as all the other stuff is.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is the public enemy number one down there. It's like the pythons.
Well, and I guess it doesn't get the publicity, the light shown. Oh my God, I can't use any words here. It's not, people aren't as aware of it, but the hogs, they hunt them from helicopters here with shotguns and just leave the bodies to rot in the woods.
That can't be good.
Well, it's like, I mean, it feeds the vultures, like it gets consumed, but it's like, what a massive waste of meat. Like that's food, and like good food.
Yeah, I wonder if there's something to them, like just maybe they got so much, I don't know, because they're feral, or maybe there's something that wouldn't be good to eat for human consumption.
Oh no, I mean, well, one of the guys I work with, he caught one and killed it and skinned it, and I forget what they call it, but what people do here is they will catch them with dogs and castrate them. and then they cut their ear and release them. And so the male goes out and no longer has the testosterone, so they get really fat. And then when you're out hunting, you'll spot the ones that have the cut ear, and that's the one that is prime for eating.
Oh.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So either way, so this one he found was castrated, had the cut ear, and when they butchered it, they found a 45 round lodged in its meat. And he didn't kill it with a 45.
Oh, so someone else shot it.
Somebody else had this poor pig was caught, castrated, had his ear cut, and was shot with a 45 ACP at some point in his life. Like, that guy went through some rough shit.
Crazy life, man.
Oh man.
Yeah. But yeah, herping, man, I like I said, I feel like I'm going to get back to Australia soon because those guys are always kind of on it and playing it. Indo's a big thing that I definitely am going to do sometime. I just got to get the time, the money, and the right thing. And it's going to be good and bad because I'm going to have to go with a definite herp group, and they're not going to be focused on finding short tails. But the groups that I've eyed up do find short tails, and maybe I think they you can give suggestions of like what you want to see, but it doesn't mean you're going to get to do all that. So it just thinks because I've made connections with Indonesian keepers, but their world works so much different. Like, you really get plans down. Like, not that I was ever buying tickets or anything, but they're like, dude, yeah, I want to, and I know trappers and they can take us. And they're like, if I don't got work. And I'm like, well, I'm going to plan it, and then you can figure you won't have work. But they're like, I won't know if I have work. And I'm like, oh, they don't just get vacation, or they can't just take off. Like, it's not that way.
Yeah.
So you can literally go there and be like asked out because your whole plan was to go there, and the person you were meeting up with just can't go with you, and then you're back to square one. So we're like, it's awesome because Rob Stone does the Australia trips. I only went on one, but he's done them. He maps those things out because it's, he's crazy good at that stuff, and it's an English speaking country, and you can go over there. You go to Indo, and I feel like it would be really difficult, to just go over there. I feel like you can get some herping done, but there's going to be a lot of restrictions in places you're not going to get. And like I said, I've heard some of those stories, and it's like, to get someone to take you out there, they're like, why would you want to go there? And then when you get there, you need permission, or you got to get on their farm, and it's just a lot of work. And it's obviously easier if you have someone that speaks the language or knows what's going on over there.
Yeah, you listen to all of Ari's stories about, looking for the Boland's pythons and how many trips it took and how much effort it took in building a relationship with the people in that area. And it's like, it's just a whole different thing than going to Australia.
Yeah, well, that's also Papua, and that's even crazier. Not that I think that Indo can't be scary, or there's obviously some danger parts, or you can get yourself into trouble. But yeah, I just think it's, they look at animals different over there. And like I said, I think where I'd have the most success, where you'd have to find something, is like hitting somewhere in central Borneo and being able to get on some of these oil palm plantations, I'm sure. But even then, I watch a guy on YouTube, and it's like, I don't think you're going to just see them out. You got to look in these holes and dig them up. And I don't know if they're going to be cool with that. And then I don't know what I'm going to be finding in all the holes, because this guy finds Borneos, retics, and sometimes cobras. I don't want it to be a cobra hole. And I might be in a hole that has nothing to do with any of them. And who knows what's in there? You know what I mean? So I feel like you need some experience, someone over there, you know what I mean? To really get on the level I want to do. And don't get me wrong, I want to go over there primarily to find short tails. Like, I want to find more than one, but that would be a waste of a trip if that's all I'm over there for. There's so much stuff I would want to see and have to see, but that would be my target. And, coming up, watching all these animal shows in the 90s and just everything. I mean, it hasn't been until the last couple of years you find anybody finding bloods or short tails. It's like, this is a python that there's a ton of. And every time you think Indo, they're just finding, if it's pythons, it's retics. It's never bloods or short tails. And I'm sure if they bumped into one of those on any of those shows, they're not going to not show a snake like that. So it's like, damn, they're not seeing them. And it's like, it's because they are underground and they're in other places. They're not just going to catch them on the crawl usually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. They're such a stationary animal,
Yeah. And that group that I'm talking about that does generally, they're always in the Borneo, Sumatra, Philippine area. They have found Borneos and reds in Sumatra and stuff like that. And it is on the crawl. They're not digging anything up, but they are like, they seem pretty psyched to find it. Like they're like,
Mm.
what? They're like, this is so crazy, and they find tons of snakes every night. So it's definitely not like a normal thing to just catch them like that. But like I said, there is this guy on YouTube that is like, that's his primary channel. He's finding Borneos all the time, but it's always in a hole. He's digging it up and finding them.
Yeah, that's that dude with that that like hoe, right? Or
Yeah,
that
it's like his name's Manda something, but it sucks kind of because I think he's just doing that to get his cobras food. They're just cobra
oh
food.
no.
Oh, yeah. Because if you ever scroll through his channel, they have cobras and they're feeding them Borneos and retics.
Oh no, dude.
Yeah. I know that's part of it, and that is what it is. But it's like that. Oh shit, they're finding them for that.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we gotta. There really needs to be more people herping for shorttails because that's like not a thing.
Because I think it's difficult. I think you got to get on those farms, and I think you got to know. I mean, this guy, I put on the subtitles, and even the subtitles don't catch everything he says. I don't know if, like, obviously there's different dialects and slangs or whatever like that. So it doesn't always pick up everything he's saying. And even when it goes to English, it doesn't make sense of what he's saying. So, but he'll point out an area and then walk by it and then point out an area. Then he sees something and then he just starts digging. And generally, that's the spot where they are. I mean, once in a while he digs up something and there's nothing there. But I mean, and most of the time it is a Borneo shorttail. Sometimes it's a retic, and then a couple times I think there's been a cobra, but I think he's known it was a cobra. Like he knows it was something different.
Yeah, dude, that would be scary as shit if you're going into a hole and a cobra's in there.
To me, it's actually scarier is like if I hit a hive of something because I don't like wasp and hornets. Like I think they're interesting, but I deal with them on billboards, and the last thing I want to hear is buzzing and then get chased down. And I don't even know if they have. I'm sure they have ground nests, but I don't know exactly what species. And it would be easy to tell. I got to imagine you hear something as soon as you touch it, they would start flying out. And then all the other stuff over there, you know what I mean? Like anything, like a crazy mount, like whatever's over there, you hit the wrong thing. Who knows what's coming out of that hole?
Yeah, you definitely have to go out with somebody who knows what they're doing for sure.
And if you got permission to go on the farm and you're just digging holes, they're going to look at you. That might get you kicked off the farm. Like you might have paid money and they're like, no, you can't do that. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, make it happen. Take a lot of pictures.
I do. And I talked to Rob Christian about it, and we've always wanted to go. And I think if we ever go, hopefully we definitely go together. I mean, I will go with a group with no one there and just go like them herp groups. I watch the YouTubes. They always seem like they're fun and they're always full of good people. But doing something like that, I hope someone wants to go with me that knows me and can handle the trip and everything like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I wonder if Sean Perry would be interested in that too, because I know
probably not Borneo, probably Sumatra. That would be the thing. It's like Borneo, not so much. If you're going to Sumatra or something or Malaysia, I'm in. See, I want to go to Borneo more, but I would definitely be down for a Sumatra or Malaysia trip too. But I definitely would. I think going to Borneo would be a better trip for herps in general. Like that. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It seems like those groups frequent those areas more for all the vipers and everything else, the monitors and everything you can get over there. So.
Yeah, dude, there's so many venomous snakes over there. It's wild.
Yeah, but the next Australia trip I'm hoping is to the Kimberley to find obviously everything that offers, but rough scale pythons. Because that's, like you said, you were mentioning rough scales. I think that is besides bloods and shorttails, I think that's my second favorite species. They're just so cool.
Really?
Yeah, they're really cool. I like them right off the jump, and then having them just made me appreciate them more and more. And it's crazy because I only have 3, but it's a species you don't need a bunch of because they kind of all look the same. But I definitely want to just. I kept back I have my breeding pair. I kept back a female from last year, and then I want eggs, and I want to keep back a male, and then I can run with a 2.2 for a while. And the only way I'll get more is if something were to happen to one of them, which hopefully doesn't. Because man, they're not only are they cool, they're also pretty rock solid. Like they're definitely like once you get them going, they're they're pretty fun and easy to take care of, it seems like so far.
Do you cohab them?
No, I don't. I mean, I thought about it, but I don't. I think you could, but because I want to make sure I produce them, I'd rather just keep them separate.
Sure.
And to be honest, my male is not great and my female's awesome. Handling
Oh,
well.
really?
It's like my male can be kind of uppity and my female's great. So like I don't think that would make them different, but I want to be able to just reach in. Like I can just reach in and grab my female, pull her off the perch, all wrapped up. Never gives me a sideways look. My male, depending on how you go in there, he will try to take a go at you or he'll flatten his head out. And I'm like, yeah, never mind. I'll grab you with the hook.
What are you drawn to their natural history?
Their natural history is cool. The way they were found is cool. But I mean, having them is what really locked me in. I mean, that can all be cool. There's a ton of snakes like that with cool history. But the keeled scales are cool. The eyes are cool. And it's hard. Like when they're babies, of course they're cool, but you don't get it until you start getting them a little bit bigger. And then you're just like, that's a cool animal. And for the way, like I said, they don't perch like a green tree python, but they make themselves visible. Like they're not too hidden. So that's why I put them in, like, to me, they needed some height, obviously. I could have put them in a rack with some height, but I was like, let me get them a cage. And that's why I bought the universal rock background and they got LEDs on them because I want to be able to see them.
Nice. So now they're not just surviving, they're thriving.
That's right, man. I mean, I feel bad for my bloods and shirt tails are just surviving along, but I got those baby boys thriving. So
what size enclosure do you have them in?
I only got them in 24-inch cubes and they're pretty good, but I also don't. So I've seen some rough scale females that are pretty monstrous. I don't feel like mine's monstrous at all. Like she's a good size.
How big is she?
I think that's a hard question because she never stretched out. I mean, she can take a medium rat fairly easy, but like I give her mediums and smalls. They have a weird like box shape to their, like they're taller, like their body. They have like a tall body. I'm gonna guess she's got to be 5 foot or over. Like she's got to be that size, but she's never like sprawled out. She loves the top of this one. It's like I cut my own branches for them and disinfected them and did all the stuff. But it's like a triple branch that goes different directions and it's like forked at the end. And she loves just sitting up there on that. Like she's always up there and it's like right against the glass. So they're just really cool. Like I said, it's the one snake that if I'm down there and everything's cleaned or I checked on stuff and she's right there, I'll just grab her and check her out. You know, or if I take her out to clean her, I'll sit down with her for 5 minutes and check her out and let her cruise around.
Nice. And you want to see them in the wild?
Yeah, for sure. And that's a big trip that would be a really cool trip for me. That'd be a huge trip for Owen. So I expect he has to go or it'd be like wrong. And I think that's one of their next spots. I think it was planned for this year, but I think they moved it. So, but it's one that I probably will just get a credit. If I don't have the money, I'll get a credit card and put it on a credit card. Like I gotta go to that. So,
hey, you only live once.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's not like you're going to make that trip too often.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, shoot, we're creeping up on 3 hours again.
Yeah, I didn't even see that. Holy shit. Was that what the first one was?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, how long does your show usually run?
It depends. You know, it could be, 2 hours, could be 3 hours. I think I did a 4 hour and 50-minute one.
Yeah, because when I listen in sections. It's never one thing. So I never notice the time. And I always am cleaning. So it just goes off. So I never see like, oh, that was a long episode. You know what I mean? So I just put it on and go. So I never notice the time.
Yeah. Dude,
I know some people try to keep it to a certain time, which I always think that's a mistake. I mean, if the podcast is flowing, just let it flow. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I always just let it do what it does. I mean, if we're done in an hour and a half, that's fine. And if it goes 3 or 4 hours, I don't care. Yeah. I mean, that's, and just a fun memory of when I first hit you up to come on the show. You were like, yeah, do you have like a catalog or something? I can like, can I like catch an episode of your show? Yeah. And I'm like, well, I haven't actually posted anything yet. So God bless you for actually, for coming on. Cause damn dude, like,
well, you seem cool. I generally wouldn't do that. Like, not because I don't trust anybody. Like they would like ask dumb questions or like ambush you with something stupid. or try to make like drama. But it's always nice to see something because I'm someone who's nervous to do pod. Like right now, I was going to say like, oh, keep it flowing. I don't know if we're this long because it flowed well or not. Like I always think I sucked, and it's not a move to get compliments or anything. Like everyone's like, you never went back and listened to yourself? I said no. And my kids will once in a while go, look at my dad, and when I hear it, I'm like cringe. I'm like, I don't want to hear myself. I really don't. I just don't like it. I don't mind, but I am better with doing them once I get flowing. But
yeah, it's funny, dude. Before we started recording, you were just rambling, and I'm like, all right, cool, he's comfortable. And then I hit
That's because we're not on air, dude. I have no problem. You should just trick me. You just trick me. Just say, Matt, don't say anything crazy in our conversation. I'm really sensitive. And then we'll just go. And then like, we recorded that. No, it's cool.
Oh, dude, you said some wild shit before we started recording.
Yeah, dude, we were real controversial then, dude. We were getting wild.
God, I didn't know so much hate could come out of a human.
People are going to think this is real now.
So much drama.
So much drama, dude. I was really giving it to the ball python community.
Oh, man. Matt Minetola, Borneos and drama.
That's why people love Borneos, dude, because of all the drama. That's it.
Dude, that's going to be the name of this episode, Borneos and drama.
So much drama. I guess the most dramatic I got is I had beef with the pet people from 5 years ago.
Yeah, but you're letting it go, and you're learning that you can let your animals thrive too. I think that's
well, I always knew my animals can thrive, and I always had no problem with animals thriving. I just had a problem with people just making my animals survivors. That's all. So, I feel like they survived pretty well.
Yeah. After 21 years,
I only have a couple 21-year-old snakes down the basement.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
My one retired Borneo, I said she's how old is she? She's 19. I think I got a 20-year-old Borneo down there, and I think I got a 21-year-old red, I think. So
damn, dude. So how do you go through like I think you alluded to it before, hitting like the like rough times when you're dragging your feet and you're burnt out, you're going through a burnout period. Like how do you get through that, and how do you keep going on and getting reinvigorated, 20 years into it?
Well, it's weird. I think when you're newer, or at least when I was newer, you feel guilty about those burnouts, almost like, oh, how could I? That cricket is killing me. It's in my frog's cage. I don't know if you can hear that. It's going to be all night. I'm going to have to deal with that. But yeah, I feel like you feel guilty, almost like, I'm saying you definitely do the work, like you're doing it, but you just feel like, oh, do I really want this if I'm burnt out? But as you get older, you just realize it happens. You're tired. It's been a long year, whatever it is. And the way I deal with it now is like, I definitely go down because they're animals. You have to go down there and you get it. And then I would say 9 out of 10 times, once you're down there doing the work, you put some music on, you put a podcast on, you realize you're getting the work done and it really wasn't that big of a deal. You're sort of making it more of a big deal. So for that reason, but just when you come up and you're not as interested on like participating and answering questions or getting involved in intelligent conversations, I'm just sort of scrolling and liking, it's almost like you're in your brain dead thing. Like I'm still heavily involved in snakes and I love them, but I just want to look at pretty pictures. I just want to like what people have and write awesome. You know what I mean? I just feel like you've been there so many times, you're going to bounce back kind of thing. And there's only, like I said, but I don't think if you keep 30, 50 snakes and you haven't had the thought once in a while, how much easier would life be if I just sold all this shit? I mean, you're not human. It's like, it's just crazy. And even if nothing's going bad, nothing has to be going bad. You're just like, I don't know if I can go down there again today. Like, I just can't do it. You know what I mean? Like and once in a while you do need to give yourself a break. Like there is a Wednesday where you don't have to go down there. You're going to have a little bit more to clean up tomorrow. Just do it tomorrow. You know what I mean? Just give yourself the break, give yourself the rest, calm your mind down. So it is, it's crazy. I mean, I feel like you're still very invigorated. You might not have had these moments, but it might come once in a while where you just certain things. And like I said, it doesn't have to be for any reason. It doesn't have to be because anything negative's going on. And it doesn't have to be because you want to personally do something. But once in a while, there is things like, oh, damn, if I didn't have these, I could do so much. I would afford so much more. this wouldn't bother me. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's the community. There's nothing going on. It's all negativity. And it's just like, well, we all say we love the animals, and we do, but it's fun participating in the community no matter what you say. You know, it's not going to be any fun if all the other people aren't having fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered that question. I hope I did.
Yeah, you did. I mean, there's so many friendships I've made. It's insane. You know, like I did not anticipate that when I started the podcast, the amount of friends that I have now, you know, people that I'm really, if I get to see you at Daytona or something, how excited I am about it, you know?
Yeah. And it is funny because we all sort of do it. I don't know if I do it as much as some other people, but some of the people that do it the most are my friends. And they'll be like, oh, the people suck. That's why we love the animals. But they're the people most drawn to the people that are cool in the hobby. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like without the cool people, obviously, if you have an interest in animals, that's where this comes from. You start off with an interest in animals. You're going to like it, but I don't feel like you're going to have as many things as you have. I'm going to have as many things as I have if you didn't meet cool people and, you know, this went that far. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't doubt that I would have a lot of snakes, but I don't think I would have 200 snakes down my basement if I didn't meet a bunch of cool people. There's no way. I mean, I guess some people are pure salespeople and it's for a job. Maybe they would, but I even find it hard to believe they would. I feel like they made relationships, and that's what further on to make them dive more into business in this. You know what I mean? Like, not only is it profitable and I'm good at it, there are some really cool people. I enjoy going to this show and seeing this group of people. So
yeah,
as much as, like I said, we all bitch and moan, the people suck and we love the animals. The people, I think, make this a lot more enjoyable because you do meet, like I said, I'd still call some people my reptile friends or my hobby friends, but I've made people here that I consider family for sure. Like I said, like I've crashed at people's houses. People have crashed here. I went to over people's houses with their family for no reason. And like same here, they could come here. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how can you say that people suck in this hobby? I mean, there's people like you out there. Rob Christian is like the sweetest human being in the history of. Yeah, it's like
he paid me a huge compliment today. He posted my thing and said the best ever do Borneos. I mean, that's a super awesome compliment from him.
That is.
Yeah.
Well, it's just you and him that keep Borneos. So
what? It's not. I want to shout out the other guys doing Borneos because there's not even a lot of us now. You got Chris Leach. You got Ryan Spellman, who's been doing a pretty good job promoting stuff. He's got some awesome stuff. You got a guy named Mike Packer. You got a guy named, I think, Michael Sean, I believe. If I'm getting that wrong, Mike, I'm so sorry. He has awesome animals. He's producing stuff on his own. He's got a pair of stripes that I want. One of them was my own thing. And I'm Rob, of course. Jeremy Turgeon's he's always working on Borneo some. And there's
Tillis, of course.
Who? Tillis is working on Borneos. Who I feel like used to hate Borneos. It's funny he dove so far into Borneos because he used to shit talk them, call them super brown and all this stuff. So
he's matured.
I think he might have said 50 Shades of Brown, or that might have been someone else, but I mean, whatever. No, he's matured. No. And I'm leaving people out, which I feel terrible about. But yeah, there are definitely some of us still working on it. And it's funny, Elijah has told me if I don't do podcasts or I'm not posting, Borneo stuff goes down. You need to do a better job, which I don't want to think of myself as I got to be the one that goes rah rah Borneos because there's a lot of like if it can't be just me and I can't be the reason. There's other people out there. You just got, like I said, there's other people doing awesome stuff and they're very passionate about them. So I do hope they come up, not just so people get some sales and we move some stuff, because that will ultimately make us create more and swap around stuff more. I'm still going to always make them. So it's just I'm the guy who holds back 20 freaking animals. So I'm my own biggest customer. That's my biggest problem.
Bigger feeder bill than the Philadelphia Zoo.
I don't know about anymore, but I used to be. So we'll see. That's not a knock on the Philly Zoo. They seem to do a pretty good job.
Oh, man, that's awesome. All right, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for stopping by.
Dude, this was awesome. Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah.